Hello, everybody, and thank you for dropping into this edition of Walking the Ropes. I'm Caleb.
And I'm Blake. We have an awesome show for you today. We'll be covering the news over the last few days, as well as the Elimination Chamber from last night. And then we'll be discussing your least favorite, or our least favorite bits and most favorite bits, as well as the Twitter polls from last night.
Yes, but before we get into all that here, real quick, if you have been watching us for a while now, or if you are brand new, you can find everything Walking the Ropes through our link tree, which is in the descriptions and bios everywhere where we're available. It has the links to our social medias to keep up to date with us. All the podcasting platforms we're available on to listen to, as well as ways to support us, such as our tipping page and our Redbubble. But with all that being said, yeah, we'll get right into it. News from the last few days. I've got one here. I saw it this morning, and I think out of all my news, which is only a few points, we've been spoiled over the weeks, and like this past week has kind of just been like, good luck.
We've been just kind of doing funny ones that aren't our news segments.
Yeah.
And then
So
talking theories, basically.
pretty well, but this one here I saw, and it's got me thinking. I mean, it's kind of the route I figured they were going with it, but it's really intriguing. So, Impact Wrestling is reportedly going to be setting up for Sacrifice, Rich Swann versus Moose, title versus title.
Right.
So Impact World Championship, TNA World Championship. The exact route everybody knows it's going. But some new news here that I've just read for the first time, from at least new news myself. I don't know if it's been out there. I haven't seen it up until now. And I mean, we've been keeping up with the news since the beginning of January, like at a heavy pace. I mean,
Yeah, I wouldn't check dirt sheets every day, but I would check it weekly, and now I'm checking it almost daily.
yeah, like I check them just about every day, but unless there was a headline that was very much so like, holy shit, 90% of the time I wouldn't read them. Now I'm doing it every day.
Yeah.
So reading this, apparently Sacrifice was taped early
Already?
February.
Oh.
And Rich Swann beats Moose.
Okay.
So Rich Swann apparently is holding both titles, and this is to set up exactly where we expected, but just a different opponent than expected. It's supposedly going to be Rich Swann against Kenny Omega with all the titles on the line at Rebellion.
A three-way, so that'll give Kenny 3 titles.
Yeah. Because there's no way they're putting, not to say Rich Swann doesn't deserve it, but there's no way they're putting Rich Swann over Kenny Omega. The only way that match does not have titles change hands is some kind of interference. And the only thing I can see is because we've got Rebellions in April, so we've got well over a month to build to it. I think it's middle of April, so a month and a half, you know. I can see over the next month they're gonna keep playing out Bucks and Good Brothers stuff over and over and over and over. And at some point there's gonna be bits with Kenny, and I think that tension is just gonna keep growing. And I honestly could see the Bucks getting involved and screwing up the match in some way, shape, or form. So, like, obviously no pin happens. That way no titles change hands. But it's going to be a matter of how they do it. I could see it easily being Kenny setting up for that V-trigger to get ready for the win. The Bucks come in and just super kick Rich Swann. And everybody's like, what the fuck? And they're just like, we couldn't let it happen. We couldn't let it happen. You're already this person who you shouldn't be. Like, we're not letting this happen.
It would have to be booked right, because I know when WWE does a winner takes all match and we don't get a winner that takes all, everybody gets kind of annoyed. So if they go the route of not giving us a person with all 3, then we really need to book it properly.
But the thing is the booking falls into place for this. With WWE, it ends up being really odd and whatnot. WWE normally does not have this. I mean, you got to remember, like I said, bringing the Bucks in, bringing the Good Brothers in. You're talking 6 years of history. You're talking stuff we can reference years and years and years ago from multiple different companies. And obviously, yes, the booking at the end of the day has to be right, but I don't think it's going to take much to make it right. These guys, the way they're going, the booking really falls into place for it, and I think it
Yeah.
can be done really, really well. Like, I mean, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if at Rebellion we get the Bucks versus the Good Brothers finally. Because I could see that because, that's what they seem to be aiming towards doing at Revolution. And now that we're not getting it, I don't
You
know if we
know,
put it on Double or Nothing or not. Because if we don't put it on Double or Nothing, why not put it on an Impact one for them?
well, yeah, what I was actually gonna say there, if because we have Sacrifice coming up, right?
Yes.
Um, we know that that's been recorded. Maybe there is a Young Bucks Good Brothers match on that's non-title. And then at Sacrifice, it is a title match.
My only issue with that is putting it on something like Sacrifice. Because Rebellion is going to be like, I mean, the best way to look at it, I mean, looking at the Impact pay-per-views basically, is you've got the ones they obviously want you to give a shit about, and then you've got the other ones. So like Genesis and No Surrender and now Sacrifice, they're the ones that you can watch them. There's going to be stuff. It's not going to be like anything too crazy. Like, sure, we know we're going to have Swan now winning the titles, which is great, but that's not going to be the prominent point of any of the storylines. Those storylines are going to culminate at the Hard to Kill, Rebellion, Bound for Glory, Slammiversary. Those are going to be the shows
Yeah.
that they're like forcing at you, like you need to watch these. So a match like that'd be like putting the Bucks and the Motor City Machine Guns on or not Rebellion, Sacrifice. That'd be like putting that match on Sacrifice. Like that's such a huge fucking match.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to think of a way that, like, because the majority of the main storytelling has been on Impact Wrestling, I think there needs to be a way for one of the winner takes all title matches because we're looking at probably two, if not three variants of this winner takes all match for titles
I
here.
I I don't think the Bucks walk out of Revolution with the titles. I'll say that
No,
right
that's
now.
for sure. No, for sure. But that's what I'm trying to say. Like, but I think one of these winner takes all match happens on AEW, and I think it'll be the tag one. Because I think the Bucks will eventually end up with the Impact tag titles. Eventually, just not soon.
See, my only issue, unless you possibly have a news point to rebut this, my only issue is we keep saying all these titles and the crossovers and that. The only issue is according to reports, Sammy had pitched to win the X Division title and bring it over, and Impact didn't like that because we're obviously getting Kenny more than likely taking the belts unless something like what we've been discussing happens. So I don't see them pushing not only those world titles but the tag titles as well, unless their reason for not wanting Sammy to win is because that would mean all the titles
All
go over. But the thing
all the
is,
men's titles.
that's still two titles from their side going over. I find that hard to reason.
I get that for sure, but my only thought process there is story wise, it does kind of make sense because the Good Brothers with tag titles gives them a bit of power. So the Young Bucks want to try to get rid of that power because they feel Don Callis already has too much as it is. Like you're saying, along with grabbing up, stopping that Kenny from getting the Impact and TNA championships, it would be along the similar lines, trying to stop Callis from having control as much as possible.
The only thing I potentially see, thinking about it, is we get Double or Nothing. We're
Okay.
going to get a Four Corners tag match. We're going to have Good Brothers. Hopefully by that point, Motor City Machine Guns.
If not,
Bucks.
maybe like James Storm and Saban again. That would be fine.
Yeah, I'd much prefer Motor City Machine Guns in the overall, because that's
Yes.
looking at it, I can see the Motor City Machine Guns winning the titles. I don't see Storm and Saban. I mean, the thing is, there's no reason to say they can't, they shouldn't, stuff like that.
Correct.
But we're well aware of who Impact wants in that position. They want the Motor City Machine Guns. They don't want Storm and Saban.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the Bucks, and then there's going to be another AEW team. I want to say at the moment, because of where we're at, possibly Private Party again, but that's subject to change.
I was thinking, honestly, because Private Parties had their shot, maybe it's one of the teams that's kind of building up right now, and maybe the FTR Jurassic Express storyline ends with Jurassic Express actually getting a shot in that team match.
I just thought of something that would work, because considering the three teams that we've already discussed, and they already work really well, Lucha Bros,
Yeah, that would be really good.
Santana and Ortiz, because
even FTR as well, to throw in a team that's like completely polar opposite.
Well, the only reason
styles.
I'm mentioning Santana, Ortiz, and the Lucha Bros is because you're considering Impact here, right?
Yes.
These people have all held these titles or been involved in some way, shape, or form.
I was gonna say, I don't know if Phoenix and Penta won the tag titles, but I know Penta won the world title for sure.
I believe they were tag champs, were they not, at one point?
I can't recall.
Well, the thing is, I'm not sure if Jen Mi ever held the titles, but that's why I'm saying they were all involved in that. Impact World Tag Team Champions one time.
Okay. Right. Yeah, I wasn't 100%
at least
sure.
for Lucha Bros.
Jen Mi might be on the other hand.
Young Bucks here real quick. Championships and accomplishments. I do not see anything here.
Like, not even like NWA under TNA sort of thing?
No, because they were there when it was TNA.
Right. I just wasn't sure if maybe they hadn't introduced TNA tag team championships yet.
Yeah, because that was 2010, 2011, and they introduced those titles in about 08, 09.
Okay.
So I don't see anything here regarding TNA or Impact Wrestling.
Right.
So Jen Mi has never won, or Young Bucks if we want to be specific here. But yeah, I can just see it setting up for something like that. And my another contemplation that I was having, which it's really going to be a matter, they've really got to watch WrestleMania in April. But does Tony Khan pull the trigger and potentially put Double or Nothing at the Jag Stadium? Obviously, they're not looking to fill it up, but instead of only having the 800 to 1,000 people that they're allowed in
at least
Bailey's
fill the
place,
infield,
can
or whatever you call it.
Yeah, the thing is, Mania is aiming for 30,000, and that's at Raymond James, and I believe the Jag Stadium holds more than Raymond James at a full capacity. So I can only assume, would they sell 35,000 tickets? Hard to say, but let's say they could capacity at 35,000. Do they potentially pull the trigger and go, hey, we're going to hold this at TIAA Bank Stadium? Or do they put the tickets on sale, advertise it at Daly's place, see the demand, and go, okay, you guys want it, So because I mean, it's not like they're moving it across the city, across the state,
No,
across the
it's in the
country.
same parking lot.
They literally are moving it a matter of
100 feet.
100 feet, maybe, to the
Like,
stadium, and
like
it's
they wouldn't even have to take apart some of the shit. They could literally pick up the lighting rigs, move them into the spot in the stadium, and like the only things that really need to come down are the ramp and the ring.
yeah,
The
and like
rest
they
of it
don't
could
have
probably
to.
have 4 or 5 guys carry it
Yeah,
in
and
a
like they
truck.
don't have to do this great big setup. I'd be totally okay
Yeah.
with them. Obviously, I would assume it's probably the false. No, no, no. That stadium is the natural turf, isn't it? If I remember correctly from
Yeah, I'd
last year's
say
Double or
so.
Nothing Stadium Stampede, I believe they had stated that it was the natural turf. But covering it over, putting a handful of seats on the floor, maybe, having the stands filled, and they don't have to do a crazy setup. They can basically take the Dynamite setup and just amp it up a little bit, or even take the Revolution or Full Gear setups that they did when we had fans and amp them up a little bit.
Yeah.
We don't need a WrestleMania sized setup, but
No, exactly.
I mean, it's not like it's going to cost the Khan family anything.
We
Like,
already
well,
know that.
in the big sense, I mean, there is still finances that go into it to do it, but it's not like they have to book a stadium and do shit like that. It's literally a matter of Tony probably turning to his father and going, "Hey, Dad, can I, use the stadium on May insert date here?" Sure. Like, as long as there's not a Jags game scheduled,
Yeah.
I don't think there's an issue. And I
Yeah,
think
no,
it'd
it,
be
it makes sense.
I think it'd be smart, because if, you know, num- bringing it around to the reason we don't really have fans, COVID and that, numbers are relatively improving, especially with the vaccine going out and whatnot. So by May, I mean, we're talking what, 3 months from now. By May, the numbers could be that much better, and why don't we attempt? I mean, WWE's attempting 30,000 in April at Raymond James.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is once again, these are all ifs because the whole world could go back
Oh,
into a lockdown.
it could turn and totally fuck itself, but let's say it doesn't. I mean,
Yeah.
business wise, wouldn't that be smart? Even if it's
Yes,
only
absolutely.
35,000.
Well, yeah, and then it potentially builds Double or Nothing to be this mania adversary as it's been in a stadium, and then there's precedent for when fans come back to see if, oh, maybe can we fill a proper stadium on a mania level?
Well, here's the thing, which, I mean, I don't know if you ever saw it, or if you did it and whatnot. The first Double or Nothing, the ticket demand, there was about 120,000 people attempting to buy tickets for an MGM 11,000, I think it was
Yeah,
the capacity, 11.5.
something like that.
120,000 people tried to. They could have turned around and been like, okay. I mean, they had already announced the MGM, and I don't
I was
think.
gonna say Yankee Stadium would have been the only place they could have gone to.
Yeah, yeah, I guess. Um,
Because that's kind of in the same area.
yeah, but I mean, that's my point. I'm like, when
Yeah.
you've already announced the MGM, you've already got that, but I don't know, and
Yeah, and you're already saying you're on MGM, which took WWE years to get on
oh,
or in.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah. So the thing is, and we've talked about this before. Once this stuff does start improving again and people are feeling safe to go out and shit, we've talked about the boom that the wrestling industry is going to have. And there's no reason, I bet you next year's Double or Nothing, if it's not at maybe not Double or Nothing, cuz I was going to say, if they don't do the Jag Stadium this year, next year. But the thing is, if they don't do Jag Stadium this year and everything's back to normal by next year, they have to run the MGM. because they're still honoring the tickets. And I mean, it'd be shitty on a company level to turn around and go, "Hey, we're canceling all the tickets for the MGM and now we're moving it here." Or to say like, "Hey, we're going to honor your tickets, but here." There's a lot of people probably in,
But if they could swing it to a stadium in New York, there, because there's quite a few. I mean, thinking about it, I think there's a football team and a baseball team. The Mets don't play far from there.
um yeah, sorry, I'm just checking something. Um cuz I mean, why would they move it to New York though? I mean, that's across the
Isn't
country.
isn't you're saying it's in MGM, isn't it?
Yeah, MGM Grand in Las Vegas.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the one in New. I thought you were talking about something in New York.
No, 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 no. MGM Grand is in Vegas.
Yeah, sorry, I thought you were talking about
Because
a
I was
different.
confused for
My
a
bad.
second when you said
My bad.
Yankees, and I was like, I don't know,
My bad.
maybe I'm thinking wrong.
Oh,
Um,
I wasn't paying attention to what we were talking to which stadium that was.
yeah, yeah, that's the MGM Grand hotel and casino and all
Yeah,
that shit in Vegas.
yeah. No, I wasn't even. So
So I
okay,
mean, because that's what I'm saying. Like, if
the
there was,
Raiders, the Raiders are near there
yeah, yeah, but
because they're in Las Vegas.
I mean, it still just runs the issue of anybody around the Las Vegas area that maybe bought tickets. I
No,
mean,
for sure.
so maybe All Out next year they push
Or
for it.
maybe Tony talks to the people at Ring of Honor and buys the rights to All In and runs All In again because that would be kind of nice.
I doubt it because of how Tony's like All In was a
Yeah,
great
for
starting
sure.
point, but like
Yeah,
he doesn't even want to reference it as an AEW thing in general.
for sure.
Um so
I was just spitballing ideas of names that would fit in the
yeah.
Vegas theme.
Well, the thing is I was just thinking about it cuz I'm like maybe, maybe they do try and run the Jag Stadium this year uh and see how things go. And then because maybe to pull in some more ticket sales and that, maybe run All Out the same depending on where we're at come September, and
Right.
then it makes sense to keep running Double or Nothing in Vegas, the casino theme, it works. So maybe All Out next year is when they try to fill Jag Stadium.
Yeah, maybe.
Because I mean, the thing is like I said, once this stuff blows over eventually, hopefully within the year, there's no reason the boom isn't going to be there for wrestling. Well, the thing is as a very prominent point to make, why do you think WWE is running Mania at AT&T next year? It's not coincidence.
No.
It's because they know hopefully by next spring, we are in as much of a clear as we can be, and they can fill 102,000 people to break their own record again.
Yeah, but they'll never get close to beating Wembley.
Well, until they go to Wembley again. But even then, with the setups they have now, it
They probably won't fit near as much.
no, because I mean, you had to figure the last time they were there, it was a fucking curtain.
Yeah.
So,
Uh and I mean unless they could figure but they would want like the WrestleMania-esque stage,
oh
like
yeah, it'd
even if
have to
it's
be
not at
huge.
Mania, like
Yeah, it'd have to be huge. Well, crown stuff like Crown Jewel and that. Like,
I'm
I
amazed they
mean,
haven't run a Crown Jewel or something like that at that because they did one in Australia, the Super
Super
Showdown,
Showdown.
and
Yeah,
like
like it's kind of weird, but yeah, anyways, moving on here. What do you got for news? I just found that was an interesting point that we could spitball off of for a while because the pay-per-view results aren't going to take us all
yeah.
that long.
I had seen Taya Valkyrie tweet out to pray for Conan, and I couldn't find out why. and I've seen today why. He
Yeah,
had been hospitalized a few days ago due to some kidney issues and a positive COVID test.
yeah.
Uh,
So
yeah.
sorry to cut you off here.
No, you're good.
I actually saw that before our last not our last pay-per-view, our last podcast,
Yeah.
but I didn't want to bring it up because there was so little information.
Yes.
All it was Conan was hospitalized and is having kidney issues, and I was like, okay, I don't want to put this on here without having a bit
Yeah.
more, because I mean it could have just been, he went in for a routine checkup and somebody reported something false and the dirt sheets blow up, like,
Exactly.
the Kyle O'Reilly thing from this past week. That's why I was very
Yeah.
much so like, let's give it a minute. So I saw that this morning as well.
Yeah. But then Dave Meltzer went on to say like he is out of the hospital and he's doing better than he was a week ago.
Yeah,
So
but he
that's
still
good.
has round the clock care though.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, and they apparently kind of went in and when he was at the hospital and discussed with him end of life care and shit, just in case something started to
Hmm.
fail. I'm like, that's fucking nuts.
Hmm.
But yeah, he had kidney transplants back in about 2007, I think. So,
That sounds about right.
I mean, having kidney issues is no joke there. And then, I mean, a positive COVID test. I mean, for something like that, your immune system is like non-existent when
Yeah.
you do
Plus
something
the
like
kidney
that.
issues. Like,
And then having more kidney issues on top of it, like, so
yeah,
I
his
mean,
immune system was getting a beating and it seems like he's on the upswing at the very least.
which is good. I mean,
Yeah,
sending all our best absolutely to Conan.
absolutely.
Hope everything really keeps going on the rise for you, and whatnot. Um,
Yeah.
one that I have here that I just saw this morning. Um, Hiromu Takahashi, from New Japan Pro Wrestling. He previously was out for about a year. He suffered a really, really bad neck injury in a match against, I want to say it was Dragon Lee, for New Japan. Um, it's really bad. Actually, I think it was one of the last New Japan shows JR provided commentary for. Fun fact.
Okay.
Um, it was really like, it was not fun. You can find it on YouTube. Anyways, he is out for about 6 months is the estimate
Ooh.
again. He suffered a left pectoral injury. And the first injury around back whenever that was, he was IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. He
Oh
came
wow.
back, won it, and got injured again as IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champ. There's been no word on whether or not New Japan will be stripping him of the championship. So that's a
I
wait and
mean, there's
see
precedent
scenario.
too.
Yeah, for
Unless
six
he pulls a
months.
Super Cena and comes back in 4, like
Well, that'd be about the only way. But just another best wishes out there to Takahashi. Fantastic performer. So wishing you all the
absolutely,
best and a
yeah.
speedy recovery from what these injuries that just keep plaguing. I mean, if it was 3 months, I mean that's shitty because it's 3 months. But after just being out for 12 months and now another six, like that's shitty.
Yeah. A year and a half of your entire career gone.
Yeah, which I mean,
Like,
for a lot of people, you look at it and you're like, it's only a year and a half. Some of these guys wrestle, you know, fucking. I mean, Terry Funk. I mean,
yeah.
but that's a year and a half. That's a lot of time.
But think of the matches we could have had if Brian hadn't gone out for 7
3 years.
years? 3 years, was it?
Daniel
3
Bryan.
years.
I think it was about. I think it was only 3 or 4.
It's so confusing because of the comparisons we're getting with Edge, and they're like, this was
Oh,
7 years ago,
yeah,
and
yeah.
like, it
Well, Mrs. title win
was 10.
was 10 years to the day.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because Edge's Rumble win was 11 years to the day.
Like, WWE is really working around
11.
these dates, and I think they're almost planning it.
11?
Yeah, 11.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I was right on that because I'm sitting here like, who won, or what Rumble did he win? Um, yeah, because Del Rio won 2011. That's right. Yeah, so 11 years, and
Yeah.
then Miz being 10 years to the day. Yeah, yeah, it's totally like, yeah. They sent somebody back like, hey, look at the dates from about 10, 11 years ago. Let us know what happened, and if the guys are still active, why the fuck not?
We'll figure it out. We'll make it work.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. What else you got?
This one's just kind of. I think this was on like. I think she was on Broken Skull Sessions for Sasha Banks with.
Sasha. Yeah, last night it
Yeah,
premiered.
yeah. So I just noticed this little quick one. She was talking about Hell in a Cell matches, and she says she does not want to enter another one. These are hard matches. I don't want to be in a fourth one. Done it. Feel good. Don't want to get hurt. It hurts.
Well,
Fair
yeah.
enough. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's only some of us who are crazy bastards that would jump at the like watching Chamber last night, not to sit on this for too long and that. Watching Chamber last night, I'm like I'd give anything to participate in one of these matches. Like how fucking crazy do you have to be like I'd wrestle in the Elimination Chamber.
yeah, you have to be pretty crazy,
we
especially with the one they have now, because there's a lot more sharp edges
Oh yeah.
now.
Oh yeah.
Like,
But like, I mean, we talked about it. Like fucking hot dog and a handshake, Christ's sakes, most of the time. You fly me out there, put me up in a hotel, and my payment's a hot dog and a handshake, and then you fly me home. I'll do what you want.
yeah, I will. Well,
You're
I mean, I don't know if I do the dancing in a Speedo thing, but
eh, why not?
I,
I'd prefer to be in a wrestling capacity if that's if
yeah,
that's
if
what
I
I need
can
to
have an
say,
option,
but but yeah, I mean that's completely fair. I mean those matches are rough, you know, chamber, cell, all that stuff. I mean those things can take a toll on you. Um, so I don't blame her in that retrospect. And I mean the thing is I'm sitting here being like I'd give anything to be in it, and I would do absolutely anything. But maybe once I do participate in one of those matches, it's like, okay, I fulfilled that thing that fucking hurt. Maybe we don't do another one of those. Like,
yeah, not everybody can be Jeff Hardy, who's just as insane as literally wanting to jump off of something because it's going to be retired.
yeah, no, that's fair. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know how you feel like in that retrospect, because like I said, for me, like there are matches that I I would love to participate in. And
Yeah,
like I said, the thing is the chamber and the cell are two matches, you know, growing up. Sadly now they're part of the gimmick pay-per-views. We see them all the time. But growing up and when they pull them out for that really important moment in that, it was always like those would be so cool to participate in.
yeah. Well, and then like you'd see the like if everybody makes fun of it, the extreme chamber match. The concept of that was great.
Yeah, yeah, the ECW one.
Yeah,
They did that. That was at
December to Dismember, I
Yeah,
think.
I was gonna say that was at like one of the only ECW pay-per-views WWE ever did.
Yeah, and then uh like they got rid of the two extreme guys first and then
Yeah,
just had a regular match at that point. Like the issue WWE had there was they didn't let the extreme guys go.
yeah.
Like it's just, they book weird things in these matches.
Oh yeah, for sure. But but yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a crazy fucker that wants to see how far I can push
I
myself. But
I want to see how far I can push myself too because there was points in the matches that I was like, "Oh, come on. I think you could make that jump."
well, even something like a TLC, like like talking about stuff like the chamber and the cell, like sure, but like I think you've got to be a special kind of fucking crazy to be like I want to be in a TLC match. But the weird part is I do I
Well,
would do just about anything to
I
be in a
again point to
proper
Jeff Hardy.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. I'm like, you got to be a special kind of crazy. Jeff Hardy is, and I mean, as a big fan of Jeff Hardy, as well as yourself, a huge
Yeah,
fan. Um, you can openly say he's a special kind of crazy, and that's not a bad
because
thing.
he says it himself.
I
Like,
mean, that special kind of crazy has given us some of the best moments of pro wrestling in, his career.
well, yeah, and that's just it. Like, he's so insane in the ring that you forget that he's human sometimes.
Yep.
Like,
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
but then he'll go on like his Instagram and whatever and post these beautiful artworks that he cuts into his lawn and that he paints and whatever. And you're like, wait, you are just psychopath. Like,
Yeah, pretty well. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't blame her, but maybe let me go through one and I might be on the same page. But until I get the chance to go through one, I myself, I'm 100% ready to go.
give me the mankind bump through it. I want to go into the ring through the top of it. Let's go. Whee!
I would probably do not necessarily that one, but with obviously the new safety precautions, the other mankind bump through the table, or like how Shane was doing it. I don't think I'd take it the same way mankind did. I'm not that fucking crazy.
There was one where Foley went like through the
Through
ring
the
too,
ring, yeah,
and that
which
one was a protected one,
yeah, but
obviously.
that's one of those ones though where it's like you got to hit here, and if you don't hit here,
You're
good
hitting the
luck.
ring again. Like,
So,
you gotta think somebody went up to Foley there and they're like, okay, so this is where you gotta aim. If you hit over here, do you remember what happened with you and Taker? Yeah, that.
well, the worst part is because that part of the ring's gone. It's like you've got one or two places to aim. You've either got to hit right here or over here, because if you hit in between, you break your fucking back.
Yeah, yeah,
Because that'd be metal and like wood, like
yeah,
on the edge there.
yeah.
Um,
Like, oh, could you imagine if he landed there and he's just laying there?
Another match, War Games. I'd
Well,
kill to.
actually,
I'd
I want to see blood and guts, but
Well, it's it,
God,
it that is War Games. Just
right. But I
WWE
think
owns
I
War
think
Games.
blood and guts is going to be the sealed top, the proper war games.
Well, I don't give a shit which way it goes. I mean, sure, I know there was a lot of people who were like, "Oh, fucking open top." I'm like, with the guys that are in NXT, the guys and girls. I mean, it makes sense. It
Yes.
does. I would just love to be in a War Games, whether there's a top on it or
Yeah.
not. I don't care. I'd love
I'm
to be in a
so
War
annoyed we
Games.
still haven't seen this match.
Oh, I know.
Like,
We're gonna get it like the second week that they're back in arenas. They're gonna be like,
it
by the
was like
way,
a week
blood and
away,
guts.
wasn't it?
Yeah. We were supposed to have the
Oh,
Wednesday show where everything shut down, and I think it was the next week, or it might have
yeah.
even been that week, if I'm being
It
completely
was
honest.
this close to happening. Like,
So, maybe I shouldn't have just typed blood and guts into my fucking
yeah, you might get some interesting searches and an FBI conversation.
I'm trying to figure out that uh figure out when everything shut down.
Well, blood and guts,
On March 20th announced that it had been postponed.
and it was supposed to be on the 25th.
25th. So what show was the first show of the shutdown
Lockdown.
of everything? When did we So that was the 25th. AEW first pandemic show. Let's see if I get anything from there. 25th.
Did
Jeez.
we ever see what the blood and guts
No,
ring
they
looks
they
like?
never showed it.
No.
Um,
Sad.
so, uh, geez, what the hell? Why can I not find the first pandemic show? Uh,
Um,
Impact of
well, it was
COVID-19.
Brody's debut.
March 18th was held without spectators from Daly's place. So it was the week before Blood and Guts. Figured it out. Did it.
Nice. Got there
um
in the end.
yeah. So anyways, to continue the news here. Obviously we're just kind of going here a fair bit with the news cuz like we said, I have a feeling Chamber's going to take us like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I don't have much.
Um, but I've got two more news points here. The first one, Bailey and Aaron Solo have called off their engagement and relationship. Aaron posted on Twitter announcing it, saying that they had different visions for their future in that. Um,
A very mature thing to be
yes.
able to say.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, the thing is, not all things work out. It's just the way that life goes. Um, and as long as it was mature, mutual, good on them for making that decision and not going forward and possibly, making it something they didn't want to be. So, I mean, all my best to both of them and going forward, but that was something that was posted. It's kind of made its rounds in that, so
Yeah, I mean, I saw somebody Photoshop the Cole haircut to say single for Bailey, and I was like,
oh,
they ended nicely. Like, don't make things bad about this.
even if
Like,
there was like even if it was not the greatest at the end and they announced it, there's no reason, it that is a private matter. Just because they are public figures, I've said it time and time again, they are allowed to have private matters. Just
well, it's like the Casey and Ricochet thing. We really don't know if they're still together. Like, I
like
can't
we kind of think
find,
they are, and like stuff is posted that I think they are, and then like
but we don't know, and they're fully allowed to date and not tell anybody about it. They can get married, have
exactly.
kids, and nobody needs to know about it.
Oh, exactly. 100% agree. Yeah. You got more news or?
I honestly don't. I had some things that I had to run before I normally hunt down my news points right before we go on.
Yeah, it happens.
Um, so I couldn't find more than the two that I had, unfortunately.
I got one more here. It's just a quick one. And it's really nothing new. It was just a recent statement though. Kenny Omega was doing an interview and was asked about the progress on the AEW console game. Um, and he said the current outlook, if he could give, it was announced previously, he had stated it. um if all things go well, the dream would be the first quarter of next year, if all
So
things went
January-ish,
fantastic.
2022.
Well, between January to, I think it's April. I think January to April is usually quarter
Yeah,
one.
that's why I was saying January-ish. But
um
they would want to probably aim for the New Year release because the likelihood is Sony and Xbox would come out with their special versions of the Series X and 5 at that point, because
yeah,
that's
that's
usually how it
fair.
works. So they would probably want to aim to be releasing right on the January if they can.
Yeah, because I mean, those just came out this past fall. So, I mean, that'll be
It's
just over 2 years.
yeah,
Or just over. No, that would be just
just
over a
over
year. So
just over a
maybe.
year of them being on market. They usually wait about a year because
I thought it was usually
the
about 2 years, but that might just be me being wrong.
I know that this white Xbox that I have, the initial version was the black one, and it only took a year for the white version to come out.
Okay.
So,
Um,
and so other than that, I'm not 100% certain, but that's usually how Sony and Microsoft run their console things is they run like even when I say special variants like the special painted console ones like that are like exclusive to certain games. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, he said in a perfect world they'd be able to say quarter 1 of 2022. And their biggest goal at the moment is to not have a launch like Cyberpunk. For those of you who are
Okay,
not
yes, yeah.
video game fans listening, and that potentially, Cyberpunk, I think it's 2077, right? If
Yeah,
I'm
that
not
sounds right.
mistaken. Uh, it was a game that was in the works for absolutely years upon years, millions and millions of dollars into it. Uh, it got delayed a lot last year and was finally released. And upon release, it
Mm,
was not the game everybody was expecting. I don't know how it is now with post-release updates and that,
yeah.
but it was buggy to no end, stuff like that. And for obviously wrestling fans listening to this, the closest comparison that can be made is WWE 2K20. If you played it or saw stuff about it, know how bad it was. That is generally what Kenny is saying they are trying to avoid. Um,
Without saying WWE 2K, he gave the best example without
yeah.
saying the wrestling example.
Yeah.
So,
Well, he had stated they want like a No Mercy and like the old
yeah.
SmackDown games, like that's the feel that they want.
I
Um
was just meaning to so people didn't immediately assume he was trying to take a
ex-
shot at
oh
WWE
oh
for their
exactly.
game not working.
Yeah.
So,
Which I mean was totally because, and I mean this isn't a shot, it's just the truth. It's because Ukes was like, "Yeah, we're going to go." And like they took their engine with them. So 2K was like,
yeah, but
well, bad
my
news."
thing is 2K definitely had the money to hire people that could have just made this game almost identical to the game they had before, and they just went, nah, let's just use the same team we have.
Yeah, our team can pull it off and build an engine in 6 months. The thing is they should have just canceled the game and went a year without release and then
But they
built
made a
their engine.
second game. Like they came out with two games, and it was just focus on fucking one of them, and maybe one of them would have been good.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. I agree. I
Like,
agree. Um, but yeah, so Kenny, that's what he had to say. He's in conversations every day with the studios. There's a studio in the States as well as a studio in Japan. So technically, this game is being worked on around the clock because of the time difference.
that's very true. Yeah.
When the studio in the States
Although
isn't working on it, the studio in Japan usually is.
I imagine one studio is art dedicated, one studio is tech dedicated.
Well, yeah, from our knowledge, I mean
Yes.
this is a great piece of news because we can actually talk on this
A little
with
bit,
with
yeah.
legitimate knowledge. Like when we talk about the wrestling side of it, it's from what we've watched. We don't have any of the actual like we've taken the bumps, we've done these things, we can talk about it. We can't do that
No.
stuff. But when it
In
comes to the
this
video game
case, yeah.
stuff, we can.
Yeah, we for those who don't know, Caleb and I actually met in a video game design course.
Yeah, college program.
Uh and that's why we know each other. And
Yep.
so we spent a few years learning the ins and outs of designing and creating video games.
As well as the industry in general too,
Yes.
not just how we do it, but how things are done on the global scale. So
Yeah.
but yeah, there's a very good chance. The thing is I can only assume the Japanese studio, being probably the main Ukes headquarter, that is probably at this standpoint the technical side of it because it's
Yes.
Ukes developing that engine.
And that's not to say
Um,
nobody in the States is working on the tech aspect, but
but there's
the
a good
majority of
chance.
their brunt is art.
Well, the thing is it makes sense for the ones in the States because I mean if you watch BTE, they were doing the shoot for the video game. And
Yeah.
so it makes sense. You send your guys there and then your team can come back and the next day you can start on models, textures, all
Well,
that
you don't even
stuff.
got to wait for the team to come back. You just, well, I guess, yeah, what you're meaning is like the team goes home, goes to bed, and while they're in bed, the other team's at work taking pictures and whatever, and then they send it off. I
Yeah.
thought you were meaning for the team to come back to Japan. I was like, no, there's no reason for the team to come back to Japan. Like,
Oh, no, 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 no. Like the Japanese side is work on the technical stuff. The ones in the US, they go take the
yeah,
pictures, come back to the studio and get to work, whether that's that
yeah,
day or the next day. So it makes sense for the art side of it to be in the States.
yeah.
But I'm
Especially
excited.
because they can get their reference photos all right
Oh
there.
yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, and the best part is if they don't have a shot that immediately lines up in that, it's as easy as calling and being like, hey, we need this, and it's not a different time zone, it's not the middle of the night
yeah.
on one side or the other. It makes total sense.
Well, and with the way AEW is with COVID, probably they're booking these things to have the photos taken during like tapings. Like I
Yeah.
imagine their live taping goes from about 8 a.m. until 3 in the morning for some people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is Dark runs until 1, 2 in the morning because they tape Dark after Dynamite.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it'll be. I'm intrigued to know what they do with Dark once we go back to live audiences. Do we go back to like the only like 4 match Darks and they film like 1 or 2 before and 1 or 2 after? Because there's no way they run Dark like this.
Yeah, where there's like 20 matches on Dark. It's an hour and a half show.
Like there's no way. Here's the thing. Me myself, I would have no problem buying a ticket and sitting in that arena from 7 o'clock to 1, 2 in the morning. Because
Yeah. Oh,
that
I
is
would.
me. I am fucking crazy like that. But there's people who bitch, they buy Mania tickets and they bitch that it's an 8-hour show. Sure, that's a really long fucking show. But the thing is, you bought a ticket to, WrestleMania. Don't expect it to be Chamber last night, which was 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
Like,
like
you're
you
going,
you're buying Mania. It's an experience. You're usually people go to Mania for a week.
yeah, one
Like
day,
Mania
one
isn't
day.
a one day event. It's a freaking week-long event. There is access. There is everything to do in Mania. You
Yeah,
can't just go there and be like, "Oh, I went and watched Mania." Yeah, well, did you actually experience Mania?
yeah, yeah. Like, there's a lot to
Like,
experience for something like that. But the thing is, I'd have no problem with the tickets being like, yeah, it's gonna be like the like doors open at 6:30, card starts at 7 and finishes at like 1 a.m. I'd be like, okay,
okay, I'm ready.
just make sure you give me enough time for bathroom and snack breaks.
Can we have an intermission? Like, I'm fine if wrestling is like, hey, here's a 15-minute intermission between Dynamite finishing and Dark starting.
Well, the thing is, they changed the ring skirt, changed the Trons, so yeah, 15 minutes more than likely.
Yeah, like go
Like,
take your piss break, go have your coffee probably and your popcorn and
yeah,
you
give
know,
me enough time to just run where I need to and get back to my seat. Like, that's all I
maybe go
need.
and grab more merch and forget that you're going to buy a title and
Hey man, hey man, no,
although honestly, if we ever go to an AEW event and the replica title's a thing, I
I will
I'm
sell,
buying it.
I will sell whatever organ I need to on the
I
spot.
will sell my soul. I'll look at somebody, I'll be like, "Do you need a soul? Because you look like you need a soul." Like,
Firstborn child for sale. Firstborn child.
like, yeah, like, especially if they hadn't announced that the replicas were a thing, you can't order them online yet. I'd look at it, I'd be like, anybody. I have this, I have this. Give me the money for this. Like,
Sir, do you need a lung? I have a spare lung, sir.
do you want my shirt off of my back? Like,
Like, I will do whatever you need.
yeah, like as much as I love WWE, AEW has the prettiest world title.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And,
I
and
agree.
honestly, if you think wrestling titles shouldn't be pretty, you're wrong because that makes them want to be won.
Yeah, when they look good, why wouldn't you? Not only are they a championship, which adds value to you, but when they look good, it
You look good.
adds to the look.
Well, Jericho without the title doesn't look the same as Jericho with the title.
Exact 100%. 100%
Like,
agree.
the belt does make a person. Like, and it's not to say there aren't good looking belts inside of other promotions.
Oh, exactly.
I
Like
just have to dig.
us saying AEW. I mean, the thing is New Japan has some beautiful championship belts.
That US title is gorgeous.
Um, hell, even I was a really big fan of the NXT UK title. I
Oh, I'm
thought it
still a
looked
big fan of
really
it.
good. Like, that's the thing. I'm not saying WWE doesn't have a good looking title. Even like the new Intercontinental looks good. It looks
I
good. It's
love the
not
North American title.
the North American title. I when it
Initially,
first
I didn't.
yeah, when they first showed it, I'm like, that is ugly. And then like I was like, okay, you know what? It's not too bad.
The same can't be said for the US title. Still ugly.
I still don't like it. No, not one
the
bit. I don't know.
North American title, it looked weird when it debuted, and then it was on TV and on a person. I was like, oh no, that actually looks good. And then the US title on a person is like,
Yeah. But yeah, anyways, I guess if we're all good on news, we'll finally move into our results here, which will take us like 15 minutes. Um so we are covering WWE's Elimination Chamber from last night, February 21st, 2021. Um
oh, 2-2-1-2-1.
we uh we only had a handful of matches on the card. But
And one got removed.
yeah, yeah. So on the pre-show, it was announced that Keith Lee was pulled from the United States title triple threat match, and there was going to be a fatal four-way to determine the winner, as well as it was announced that Lacey Evans obviously would not be competing for the Raw Women's Championship against Asuka. And on the kickoff panel, they stated that Asuka would be facing an opponent that night, though, which she never did, which I have a comment to make, but it looks like you do too, so I'll let you go first.
I wasn't sure when they said it on the pre-show because I only watched the match on the pre-show.
Yeah.
So, on if they said it before the match, I would assume this match replaces what the women's title match was supposed to be. If they said the stuff about Lacey Evans after the match, then fine. But because this match was thrown together, I think they replaced the women's championship with this fatal four-way.
See, I don't think so, because the thing is the WWE, normally their pay-per-view, something like this, they try and run it about 3 hours on the dot for a pay-per-view, and we only
Fair.
got 2.5 hours.
That's
There
fair as
was
well.
definitely supposed to be something else in there.
That's fair. Yeah, no, I was shocked when at 10:30 you said, "Yeah, it's done." I was like, "Huh?"
Actually, it was at quarter to 10, because
Was it
it had
Oh,
finished
yeah,
at
yeah.
9:30. Because I messaged you and
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it's been done for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
Exactly.
looked
Yeah,
at the
and I was
time.
done it at like 12 and I was like, "Whoa."
That doesn't feel
Like,
right. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I finished it and I looked down at the time expecting it to be 10, shortly after 10 and that. And I looked and I'm like, it's fucking 9:30. What?
Yeah, like
So,
that, yeah.
but they had announced that Asuka was supposed to be facing somebody else, and I had made a prediction to you. There was predictions all over the internet because I had thought of it, and I'm like, wonder if anybody else is. I actually was like, maybe they pulled a trigger, because especially they put the we'll get to it, but the WWE Championship match was what we know as the last match, but with how much time was going to be left over afterwards, I was like, we're getting Becky Lynch tonight. Becky Lynch is going to return and fight Asuka in the main event and win her title back. Like, I was almost ready to put money on it.
My only thing is I after having a baby, I don't think she's in ring condition right now.
Uh, I,
Like
I
she's training, yes, but I just don't know how close to being in ring ready she is.
oh, I mean, there's been some of these girls that a week later they're back in the ring ready to go.
No, exactly. So
So
that's what I mean. Like I'm not 100% sure where
yeah,
she would be at.
and I would
So
assume she was still doing all the CrossFit and everything through her pregnancy with Seth
that
and
she was
that.
able to do.
So I would assume she's probably been good to go. It's just a matter of she did just have a baby, wanting to spend time at home with her child.
Or at least spend time with the kid, like even if it's bring
Yeah.
what's the child's name?
I think it's Rue, Roux, Rue.
To the events and
Yeah.
whatever. Although with COVID, probably
Well,
not
that's
wanting
just
to
it.
bring it around too
I'm,
much.
I'm like, if we didn't have COVID right now, Becky would probably be back. But with it, for the sake of herself, the child, and that, and the thing is having a child. That business, if it was the number one priority in your life, it becomes number two the second you have that kid.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I'm not upset that it didn't happen. I just figured the way the night was going, I'm like, we're gonna end off with like, here's Becky again, and we didn't though. Spoiler alert. But anyways,
the Fatal
so
4-Way was pretty good.
yeah, so this kickoff match, the winner getting inserted into the U.S. title match. We had Ricochet, Elias, Mustafa Ali, with Retribution at ringside. Still no Reckoning in sight, and John Morrison as well in the match. Uh,
Yeah.
the match was solid. For what was, I can only assume, thrown together that morning.
Honestly, yeah, that's what it looked like. They I mean it's four great competitors, but I mean Elias didn't have Jackson Riker, which probably shows just how much of this is thrown together. Riker probably wasn't even at the taping thinking he wasn't going to be on the show.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So,
Because I mean, a lot of the time, from what I know, obviously my knowledge isn't great, but from what I know, a lot of the time, um, you will get notified like you are to come to TV, whether or not you're getting used or not.
yeah.
But you will get notified like, hey, you are to come to TV and have your stuff and whatnot and be ready to go just in case. A lot of the time, the guys will just end up sitting and catering for the show and
Yeah.
they won't do anything. Some of the times they are on the show. Um,
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if WWE looked at Riker and said, "There is zero chance of you being on the card tonight. Go
yeah,
ahead, go
like
home."
we do not need you for the card tonight. Go home or on Sunday or whatever. And then
Yeah.
they get there wasn't much said about Keith Lee being pulled. It was due to injuries.
Yeah.
Now the legitimacy and what was wrong, I haven't even seen anything online about it.
There hasn't been a single confirmation, although the one thing I do recall kind of happening right around this time was he and Reckoning got engaged. I can't
Mia
remember her
Yim.
real name. Mia Yim got engaged, and during that, like she's probably tested not positive for COVID since then, but maybe there was a moment where they thought maybe Keith Lee had since tested positive, or maybe they're giving them some time to kind of celebrate their recent engagement.
That's a possibility for sure. It seems weird because normally when something like this happens, there's news across the dirt sheets about it, and like I've seen fuck all.
Yeah, really, the only reports are coming from WWE saying he's hurt.
Yeah, from the attack from Bobby Lashley, which took like two moves. I mean, he could have legit. Pro wrestling's a dangerous business. Two moves could
Well,
result
yeah,
in injury,
yeah.
but
He could have done the two moves weird and was supposed to do more. And when Lashley or whoever went up to do something to him, he just said, "No, don't fucking touch me."
yeah, we're
Like,
done. We're done. But the
because you
match.
can call audibles.
Oh, exactly. But the match was really good. The finish was interesting. Ricochet went to take out Retribution. Retribution tossed him back first into the ring post on the outside. And
Yep.
as they were distracted with that, John Morrison with a really awesome roll up on Mustafa Ali, picking up the win. And that was about it.
Yep.
And we opened the show with what I thought was going to close the show.
Yes. Because I
um,
started to write out the contenders for the WWE
yeah,
Championship and Chamber. And then
yeah,
they started running down the Universal Championship contenders. And I was like, oh,
yeah. So it was the SmackDown Chamber, which obviously the winner would get to face Roman Reigns afterwards. Which for a second, when they were opening with this, because they've said it so many different ways. One moment they're like it's immediately after. The next moment it's like later in the night. So I was like maybe they're opening with it to let the person have some
Right.
time. Maybe they aren't gonna pull that whole thing that I figured, but um so
Little
yes.
did we know.
So the chamber involved, and as I list these names off, this is the order in which they not entered the match but entered the chamber during their entrances. We had Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, King Corbin, Jey Uso, Cesaro, and Daniel Bryan, which obviously means Cesaro and Bryan start the match. Um, and they tore it down for the like what 4 or 5 minutes they were in there on their own. Like,
Yeah.
um, really
One
good.
thing I wanted to point out, I mentioned to you, I'm surprised WWE didn't put the LED posts inside of the chamber.
Oh, I'm
I'm
so
always
glad.
surprised, but it just does look a little weird with WWE on this scale, having no LED boards now all around the ring. Like, for whatever reason, it does look a bit odd.
I still don't like them. Like
I'm
that's the
not a
worst
fan
part.
of
I
them,
don't like them.
but it makes for doing the top rope moves a little bit easier, and I kind of like that for the superstars.
Sure, sure, you can look at that benefit, but I don't know. They've gone so over the years over the top with stuff that like the one spot like they can do all they want to the stage, the barricades, all that stuff I'm fine with. But I just wish they'd leave the ring alone.
That's fair.
The
No, that
ring
is
the
very
the, the
fair.
ring is like you can even Tronitize, if you want to call it that, the announce table, for Christ's sakes. You can do whatever you want in that sense. I just feel the ring, it's almost like that sacred ground that it doesn't need all that crazy stuff to it. Like, just have your nice ring if you want something. Like, I really like AEW has the cameras on the ring posts, and that's the extent of it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Because I mean, the thing is, they introduced, I believe, the post first, and then they did the video board on the front of
Yep.
the ring. If I had to pick one thing that I hate the absolute most, it's that. It's the video board on the front of the ring. Sure,
Yes.
have the posts, whatever the posts,
I feel like the
even in a
post was
pyro sense.
almost was a request from the superstars being like, "Can we have a way to do these top rope moves just a little easier?"
And then I bet Cesaro swore at them after his fucking teeth got.
100%, yes, but
but but
but it's probably what happened.
But like, sure, the ring post I can live with, but I really hate the Tron boards
Mhm.
at the ring
Well,
apron because I mean it also takes away when you have like let's say Extreme Rules when Extreme Rules runs around. I'm like it really sucks because there's like beforehand it's like what are they gonna pull out, where are they gonna pull it out and whatnot, and it really sucks for like fans if you have those seats because you're never gonna have anything happen on your side.
no, because they can't pull anything from out from under there anymore. And that's on hard camera side where I can vividly recall Devon and Bubba grabbing tables from under there, and as soon as they lift up the apron, the fans go nuts because they can see the tables. Like,
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not a fan of all the video boards and everything on the ring, but if I
I
had
think
to
they can
pick
scale
one
them
thing,
down.
if I had to pick one thing to keep, I'd keep the ring posts. I'd keep the
Yeah,
ring posts
because
with the LEDs. I
yeah,
do not like the ring skirt boards one
yeah,
bit.
the posts conceals the pyro inside of the
Yeah.
posts, like that that were like taped to it almost.
Yeah, for like
So
Kane stuff and that, they were really gaudy,
yeah,
like taped on.
yeah, so now it makes the posts look a lot sleeker. Like I've said, it makes for doing high moves a lot safer. It's just, but it also in ladder form makes for knocking teeth into jaws.
Yeah,
Um,
poor Cesaro. But
well, and I guess if we wanted to also talk about some older wrestlers, Beth Phoenix didn't enjoy the fact that when she
oh,
entered the Rumble, her
smacking her
head
head.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah, and that was like what, like 8 staples or something. Like, oof,
Yeah, and she
that's rough.
finished and just her mane turned red.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, badass there.
Oh, she is a bad.
Yeah, we had Cesaro and Bryan start the match. They tore the house down for a while. King
Mhm.
Corbin was the first one to exit their pod. Um, and I don't know if anything noteworthy really happened in between there. I wasn't able to grab anything. They just kept going, kept doing some good wrestling in that. Um,
Yeah,
now this,
a lot of stuff was targeted towards the pods, like, they were thrown into the pods a lot more than
yeah,
in previous years.
yeah, which
Uh,
was nice because I mean, a match like
yeah.
that, you use your surroundings. So, like, I'm glad we didn't. The one thing I'm really glad we didn't get was the generic going through the glass, minus the evident mishap that happened in the match. But there was no like purposefully I'm spearing you through a pod or something. It was nice to not have that.
Yeah, like, we had people get hit into it, on the sharp corner and stuff like that, and
I
that
really
was
liked how they
smart.
were using the structure pieces instead of the frickin' plexiglass or whatever. It was really nice to see.
Yeah. Well, and, like, there was a point, later on when Jason where he gets swung
I
into the post.
I was just about to mention that Cesaro picks him up, and oh, that was brutal. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, like, that's a little bit on, but, like, that's one that I can point out vividly in my head.
Yeah. Sami Zayn is out next, and this is really funny. They start to open it. Corbin's there. He pulls it back, close, like no freaking way. And the other side opens, and Cesaro's like, "Oh, hey,
"Hello, I
uppercut,
am the Swiss
uppercut."
cyborg."
Yep. Um, and we end up in the ring. Cesaro does the swing and locks Corbin in the sharpshooter, and Corbin taps out to be eliminated. Interesting that he was the first one out.
Yeah, I was kinda surprised by that.
Uh, so, and then Kevin Owens comes in, and this part is just great. And I love Kevin Owens in the pod during everybody coming in, like their entrances and that, being like, "Get in the pod, let's start this." Like, I want this
Yeah.
match with Roman, let's get it through. And then at one point, Daniel Bryan's knee, um, hopefully kayfabe wise, because they kept going at it, obviously, but got injured. That was the target through the match. And Owens yelling at Cesaro at one point when it was just the two of them in the ring, being like, his left knee, like, come on, like,
Yeah.
um, so that
Yeah, there
was,
was a lot of really good spots, and that being able to hear the wrestlers is really nice.
yeah, it was interesting. But Owens comes out, and Zayn comes up to him and starts saying to him, like, let's work together. Like we have
Yeah.
history, we can take them out. And Owens is like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then he just thudded Zayn off the pods about 4, 5, 6 times. It was hilarious. I loved it.
Yeah.
And Jey Uso obviously is the final one in the pod. Kind of go figure, I guess. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much is what we thought would happen. Um, then Kevin Owens did, like, his, like, cannonballs
yeah, yeah. The
on
three corner
everybody.
cannonballs. Yeah,
Yeah, and basically from right on there, it's just an all-out brawl until I wanna say Zayn's elimination?
Zayn gets eliminated by Kevin Owens. Owens hits him with a stunner. Uh,
Yes. But
and
he hits a stunner on everyone and only gets a pin on Zayn.
yeah, yeah. Um, and then we get a really, really cool moment between Jay and Kevin. As Sammy's leaving, they're brawling over by there, and Jay, I don't remember what he hit Kevin with, but Kevin goes down and is like leaning against the open part of the door, and Jay grabs the
'Cause
door.
Zayn just left.
Yeah, and rams the door into Owen's arm, and he's pushing it. The refs are pulling back. And where it got really interesting was Jey Uso just laid in like 6 super kicks in a row.
Yeah.
Which I was like, okay, this is the kind of shit that I want to see. Like,
Yeah.
this is like just all out brutality in that sense. Like, this is what this match, should feel like. So it was really cool. And he just kind of tossed Owens in, hits a splash, and uh Owens is eliminated, which, I mean, made sense with what had just happened, but it surprised me that Owens was eliminated
Yeah.
so early on. Um
It was really, really surprising. I thought he was going to be in the final two.
yeah. Um and then they go a little longer. Cesaro gets eliminated by Jey Uso after a splash as well. And I don't like that they're referring to it as a frog splash, because he doesn't hit a frog splash.
No, he hits, because the frog splash is the move where you go
Yeah,
arms
you
together like that.
you tuck in
He's
and that.
he's like this, like
Yeah, he hits similar to how Snuka used to in that, which
yeah.
it's just a splash, or whatever
You
you
could
refer
call it
to
a
it.
Samoan splash if you
Yeah, but
wanted
it's
to.
not a frog
Like
splash. A frog splash is
no,
very specific. That is not a frog splash.
yeah,
But anyways, it's now down to Jey Uso and Daniel Bryan. Jey Uso goes up to the top of the pod to hit the splash onto Bryan. Bryan gets the knees up and turns around, hits the running knee, and pins Jey. And it was like, okay, so we're feeding Daniel Bryan to the slaughterhouse. Got it.
yeah. So yeah, Daniel Bryan defeats everybody in this Universal Championship qualifier, I guess.
Qualifier contender match.
Yeah.
uh, yeah. And then,
Da-da, da-da,
yeah, here
da-da,
comes
da-da,
Reigns.
da-da.
Okay, so interesting note during his entrance, and it pissed me off. Corey Graves says Roman Reigns did not have to defend the title, but he wanted to prove he's a
He-
fighting champion. I'm like, no. Let's rewind a few weeks with Paul Heyman stating in the contract that the title had to be defended at Elimination Chamber. Not in, but at. That's why we're here. Do not
he
tell me
only
Reigns did not have to defend the title.
Reigns motherfucking had to defend it, and he should have had to fucking defend it inside the chamber.
But yeah, the match starts.
I hate it. I hate it.
Reigns runs for a spear. Bryan reverses immediately into a yes lock.
Don't give me hope ever, WWE.
Roman breaks out of it and just starts pummeling Bryan. And then I got pissed off because Reigns locks in the guillotine. The ref calls for it. And then they announce it's by submission.
Not.
No, it's not. It wasn't by submission.
It is by pass out, KO, whatever you want to call it.
Knockout, hell, even if, like technical knockout, whatever you want to call it, it was not a submission. Daniel Bryan never tapped. He never said, I quit.
Or technical submission, if you want to call it, because he technically passed out, which means he should have tapped out. But
sure,
you can't call it a submission.
Sure, say technical submission then. I'm sorry, we've mentioned it on many podcasts. I feel like a broken record. The point of pro wrestling is to make it look as much like a real fight as possible without it being completely a real fight. That involves everybody from the wrestlers, the referees, to the fucking announcers, making it feel real. So, and fun fact, that match lasted 1 minute and 32 seconds. So, but yeah, so Reigns retains. And then this was actually probably the best part of specifically the Reigns Bryan, because the chamber was really, really solid. Edge comes out of nowhere, spears Roman from behind, points up at the sign. And then what I really liked is Edge puts his hands behind his back, gets down beside Reigns, and whispers something to him. Just like what we got on SmackDown, stands back up, points at the sign, the pyro goes off, and we know what our WrestleMania main event is.
Yeah.
But you want to know
I
my
have a
favorite
feel.
part?
What?
Corey Graves going, I have a feeling Edge has made his intentions clear. I'm like, no fucking shit. No, I'm still not sure who he's facing.
Yeah, it was a bit odd. Speaking of Cole and Graves, they then go on to stumble all over this Bad Bunny promo. Like
Oh,
it was bad. Like I thought Cole was having a stroke. Like
eh,
he starts talking and he goes, "The Bunny pro he was on the and I'm like, "Cole, are you okay?"
hey, whoever the doc is there, because like it's not Doc Samson anymore. He's with AEW. Whoever the head doctor is, please go check on Michael Cole for a second.
Well, and then he passed it to Graves because Graves goes on. It's like, well, Cole, he starts to go. And it's just they both just
Like
stumble.
somebody had to have been in their ear. Because we,
Yeah,
we
and
we know we know from stories that Vince is in their ears.
yeah,
So like I can only assume Vince was in their ears yelling about something.
yeah, and they couldn't figure out what to say, and they were trying to, and they just kept because these two don't stumble
No,
usually.
they're too well. I mean, Michael Cole is, I whether you like him or not, he is one of the best color commentators
Well,
in
he's
the
the most
business.
senior color commentator for WWE.
Oh, exactly. At this point, yeah. So,
So
and I mean Graves, having to transition from in ring to this, I mean it worked out phenomenal. So for
it
that to
really did.
happen, it was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, it's two people we've seen Cole stumble before, but he
Well,
usually grabs it back pretty
you're
quickly.
also on live television, like we talked about JR from this past Dynamite
Yeah,
calling Kenny
it
the WWE champion. It happens.
but this just felt weird. Like
Weird,
like there
but
yeah, like I'm not trying to bully them, but I was just like I've never seen both of them just fuck up that badly.
yeah. But we get a backstage segment with Bad Bunny talking with Sonya Deville. Miz comes in, um, and I don't even remember what was said because I didn't care. Miz shoves Bad Bunny, and Bunny slaps the taste out of Miz's mouth.
Yeah,
Uh
basically all Bunny did was, or Miz was like, "Well, what the hell are you doing here?"
oh,
And Bunny's like,
I'm a
"Well, I'm a
champion.
champion, and you're not."
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But yeah, when Miz turns back around from the slap, there's Damian Priest face to face with Miz, and that's about it. Which this excites me because of what happens at the end of the night. Does that mean we're gonna boost this man to the main
freeze.
event? Not
Okay,
Bunny.
yeah, I swear if they 180 swerve us and they're like, The Miz versus Bad Bunny, winner takes all 24/7 for the WWE at WrestleMania. Oh my god, kill me. I
we're
just
we're
said those
getting we're
words.
getting that tag team match at Fastlane now, though. I have a feeling because of what
Probably,
happens
yeah.
at the end of the night. Because we don't get that tag match on Mania now.
No,
But
no, no.
but anyways, we head off to the triple threat for the United States title. We have Riddle, John Morrison, and Bobby Lashley being accompanied by MVP. MVP is using a crutch
Yeah.
due to knee injuries and that.
I
Um
still don't know where that injury came
nope,
from.
neither do I. Neither do I. But solid match. I like at
Almost exactly what we thought would happen.
Yeah, I like at the points Riddle and Morrison are convening and being like, we've got to handle Lashley. Um,
And then as soon as they did, Morrison was like, "Hey, fuck you, Riddle."
yeah,
Like,
but I don't know if you've got any notes beyond the finish for this match.
um,
If
no,
you,
I mean, I didn't know that one move, bro or Riddle hits is called the Bro Derek.
I heard that and I was like, the fucking what? The fucking what?
Like it's funny because it's the play on Bo Derek and whatever, but uh
Yeah, But I mean, if you want to talk the finish, what happens there?
Okay, so MVP is taunting Morrison, and Morrison kind of gets out of the ring, and he's like, "Oh yeah, whatever, you're all talking," then just kind of grabs the crutch out from under him, and Miz just doesn't fall, or Miz MVP doesn't fall. He, assuming he's using that crutch for support, should have fallen. Uh, anyway, Morrison then gets in the ring and goes to hit Lashley, I want to say,
Yep.
or was it Riddle?
Yep, it was Lashley. Because
And
Riddle was still outside of the ring at this point.
yeah, and then Lashley just locks in the Hurt Lock, pretty much. And then Riddle grabs the crutch and smashes Lashley,
That
and then
fucking
hits
thing
Bro Derek.
bends around Lashley, snaps
Oh
the
yeah,
top off. He then hits Lashley again, which snaps it more.
yeah. And Lashley falls to the outside.
Yeah, and then he turns and hits
Bro Derek
on Morrison 1, 2, 3 for the win, and Riddle is now the United States champion.
The only prediction so far, well, besides Reigns retaining, that we kind of got right was we figured Lashley wasn't leaving champion.
Yeah, I just figured it was gonna be Keith Lee.
Yeah.
So
I wasn't 100. Like I called Keith Lee the winner in our last podcast. I know when I initially wrote down my predictions, I wasn't sure who was.
well, the thing is I figured they were gonna put it on Riddle, and then when they put Keith Lee in the match, I'm like, well, Keith Lee's not taking the pin, and
Right,
neither
that's
is
what I was.
Lashley. So Riddle's not winning. And then as soon as they announced last night, like Keith Lee won't
Yeah.
be participating, I was like, so Riddle wins the title.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
yeah, my prediction does say I remember it just specifically says no matter what, the title doesn't stay on Lashley.
yeah, exactly. So I just figured, like we were just saying, with the other two competitors in the match at that point being Keith Lee and Riddle, they weren't putting Riddle over Keith Lee, I didn't think.
Exactly. And so that's why I was like, I'll go with Keith Lee. My heart was telling me to go with Riddle, but
yeah. Well, the thing is I wanted to see the title on Riddle. It's just
yeah.
I was like, I don't think they're putting it over Keith Lee, and I'd like to see the title on Keith Lee as well. So maybe this was the plan all along.
And Keith Lee isn't actually injured,
This
and
was
they
just
kind of booked themselves into a corner, and as a way to get him out of it,
yeah,
they injured him.
yeah. That's the only thing I can see.
Which is fair. I'm totally fine with that. They realized they didn't want Keith Lee to look weak in this match.
Yep, I agree.
And they 180 swapped it and gave it to Morrison, who, I'm sorry, doesn't care if he loses anymore.
He's established.
He's got world titles in not just, well, I guess he doesn't really have a world title inside of WWE. He has world titles all over the world.
I'm sorry, Miz clarified this.
I know he did. But we've also established that the Universal title and the WWE title do not qualify as the same thing.
We've just figured out that no world title is a world title minus the WWE Championship, which is still the stupidest fucking thing ever. But
yeah, that's just it. Like, according to WWE, the championships are just championships unless they want to classify them as a world championship.
Well, that also means like Stone Cold Steve Austin is not a former world champion in a sense,
or The Rock. Oh no, he did hold big gold. He did hold big gold at one point.
He also held the WWE Championship in 20.
Oh yes, yeah, no, sorry. I totally forgot about that. He's the reason we have this version of the WWE Championship, pretty much.
Yeah, because he introduced the one before
the scratch
this,
logo,
which was ugly as. Like I can complain about the current day titles if you're watching the video cast, which have been on the cast before, and Blake has the Universal as I do. I can complain about those, but those are a lot nicer than the one The Rock introduced. I did not like that one bit.
This title design, as much as it's not a good one, did not work with the scratch logo.
No, it was ugly as shit in my opinion.
And I feel like it's the only reason WWE really decided to fully change their WWE logo, because they had the network logo, which is this one we have now,
Which is
And
why
they
I figure I think I'm sure it's a little bit of a half and half
yeah,
scenario, but I'm sure it was partially because they realized, because I mean that title is probably the shortest lived world title design in history.
it was inside of a year.
Yeah, and then so between that and then the swap to the network, which fun fact, that is the this pay-per-view was the last network exclusive pay-per-view for
Oh,
WWE. Cuz Fastlane will be on the network, but will also be on Peacock, and that will be the final pay-per-view broadcast on the WWE network. Which terrifies me because I don't know what's to come for us Canadian viewers after Fastlane.
I'll,
I
I'll
don't
still
know.
get to watch them. I'll just watch it on Watch Wrestling.
uh,
Uh,
I just,
um,
I mean, it concerns me for Mania because I don't
so to
know.
quickly just run through the championships there, from when we switched to the spinner belt, we had the rated R title, we had Miz's upside down version,
Which
and
was
then
the
in 20,
same belt, just locked.
yeah, which I mean Cena's was also locked. He just locked it straight, which nobody even realized.
Yeah, for the
Anyway,
longest time.
until Rock literally debuted this one, is like no longer will it spin like a top today. Like, and then in 2013 to 2014,
Right.
we had the scratch logo, which I mean, it was summer 2013 to like winter 2014.
I thought it was January of 2013 because he had just beat Punk for the
Oh,
title
maybe
at
it was
Rumble.
January, but it changed then. So I guess it lasted just over a year, like as the full design.
Okay. Yeah,
Uh,
because he beat Punk at Rumble for the title, and like the night after, he was like, "Here's the new world title," and I was like, "What the fuck?"
yeah, and I just hated how he literally tossed the spinner title off the ring. I was like, can you not like completely disrespect a title that has carried your company for years?
Like, uh,
Like I get it, it was probably a replica and it wasn't the real one that they had been using on TV for years.
still pisses me off.
It still pissed me off because
Like that
kayfabe, that was the
design,
WWE Championship.
that design was the start for so many of these stars.
Yeah. I can establish so many people with just that belt that have
Just
never
that belt.
touched the original version.
Yeah.
Like, and everybody thought they would just put it back to that one. No, as soon as you saw that spinner belt, you knew that was the new world title.
Well, yeah, because it was done up so much. Like,
Yeah, whereas the US title was clearly just for Cena.
yeah. Oh,
Like,
yeah. Yeah, you
like
well,
there,
you could tell the not to say that the US title was cheap by any means. It was still probably up there price-wise with the rest of their titles. But the
for
thing
sure.
is the overall quality in a sense of it was very much so this isn't a long-term title.
No, this is for you. It matches your aesthetic, and that is it.
Mhm.
Like, that was all it was. Like, we haven't seen round plates on a title since that.
24/7 title.
Like, I was talking about side plates.
That's fair, but 24/7 title.
I don't classify that as a championship
But it
because
is. It is. It is a championship.
what? I was gonna say what legends have held it, but like women legends have held it and some men's legends,
I was
but
gonna say, I'm
like
pretty sure like Gerald Briscoe and people have held that freaking belt, man.
I know, but the thing is, are you gonna go back in history and be like, who won the 24/7 championship? I might as a
Yes.
joke.
Yes, it is a world championship. Moving on.
Moving on.
Our
I
truth.
can't
Our
even I
truth.
can't
Oh my god. 24/7 title elimination chamber match. Our truth is in every pod and he starts the matches. They're all former 24/7 champions.
Oh my
That'd be the
god, have
greatest.
R-Truth wrestle himself,
That'd be
and when
the.
the countdown starts, he has to hop into. Oh my god.
And you can't even bitch because on the Canadian indie scene, I can point out one wrestler that we both love that literally does this, Psycho Mike. You can't even say you would not fucking enjoy that.
Oh my god,
I
you
want
just
Psycho
said
Mike
it. You
versus
just
R-Truth.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you
I
just
want
said
Psycho
the
Mike
match that
versus
I
R-Truth.
want.
Oh my god.
That is a
Hey,
match that I didn't realize I wanted that I now need.
so we keep mentioning things on this podcast, and they keep happening. So, if there is actually somebody listening to us and forwarding our ideas up the flagpole, as you would say, do me a favor. Do both me and Blake a favor, and hire Psycho Mike Rollins. Let him keep his gimmick, and just give me Psycho Mike and R-Truth. That is
You don't even
all
have
I
to call him Psycho
request.
Mike.
No,
Call
no,
him
no.
Insane Steve or something, like, if you want to.
You know
Like,
what? Sure. Change his name so that way you can own it. But do me a favor, let him keep his gimmick. And
yeah,
I want to see Psycho Mike Rollins versus R-Truth.
yeah. But it has to be R-Truth's little Jimmy
Oh
character. Like
no. Oh
his
no. Yeah, because
hey, little Jimmy!
he's talking to little Jimmy and Psycho Mike's conscience, which if you're listening to this and you've never seen Psycho Mike, do yourself a favor, go on YouTube, and Smash Wrestling is probably the main place to watch for Psycho Mike Rollins. He talks to his conscience mid-match, like there's a voice that
Mike,
comes over
this
the
is your
speaker.
conscience!
Yeah, there's a voice that comes over the speaker. He talks to his conscience. It's one of the best comedy gimmicks ever. If you enjoy something like an Orange Cassidy, which, by the way, Smash Wrestling did do, if I'm not mistaken, Psycho Mike Rollins versus Orange Cassidy the night before I got to see Orange Cassidy in person. Go and find it. I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube, and watch it.
We've
Anyways,
also literally watched Psycho Mike wrestle a stone.
yes, that is, why can't I think of the name of it? Because I want to promote
For
that too.
a toy belt for 8. And when I say a toy belt,
The
I mean the
action
ones that
figure
come with
belt.
the action figures. Like,
I'm trying to remember, trying to think of the name of the promotion that was doing this.
we really don't want to talk about this match, do we?
No, we don't, but I also want to promote
Yeah, it's really funny what they're
these
doing.
guys, because
Isn't it something Backyard?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. Backyard Pro. It's a bunch of Ontario indie guys. It's also got people like, I think on the second season, like Josh Alexander's on it and stuff like that. But it was done up by some of Ontario's pro wrestlers during this pandemic. It is absolutely phenomenal. There's tons, by the way, as well. They've created gimmicks just for it. Like completely
Psychotic Michael.
Yeah, like some are really close, some aren't. Some of the content pushes the boundaries and stuff, which is really fun. If you're easily offended, some of the episodes might not be for you, but it's worth the watch.
I have a question. Why is Psycho Mike a zombie?
Oh, there. I don't know if it's here on Ontario or if it was like a Michigan promotion or whatnot. Around Halloween, there's an indie promotion that does a complete Halloween based event, and everybody gets done up, and it's completely gimmicked out the whole show to be Halloween based.
His Twitter says Psycho Mike Zombie. I am a zombie now. He's still running that gimmick.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. Okay. But I guess we'll move on with the chamber results, not that we want to. We apologize, we get so sidetracked sometimes, but sometimes it's just worth it, because the next match is Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler defending their WWE Women's Tag Team Championships against Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair.
You were going to say World Tag Team Championships?
Yeah. Anyways, the match is going. It really is.
Yeah, that's pretty much all it was.
Sasha and Bianca get interviewed in gorilla position beforehand, and Reggie interrupts. I don't even know what was said because I really didn't care.
I literally just have Reginald answers for them.
Yeah. And during the match, at one point, like they're just wrestling. At one point, the commentators refer to Nia Jax's injury, which I was like, Jesus Christ, people! Like, I think we're hung up on this a little too long.
The
Um,
one thing I'll say is WWE is doing a really poor job at hinting at who Belair is going to challenge for this, uh, for her title
oh,
match.
it's
Uh,
pathetic.
it is so fucking pathetic
At
because
least we
they're
had a thought that Edge may challenge McIntyre or may challenge Balor. There has been not one moment where I've been like, Bianca's challenging anybody but Sasha.
yeah, because literally when I want to say it's Braxton asks her, "Hey, so who do you think you're going to challenge?" She literally elbows Sasha.
Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't good.
I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like we are not booking this to be suspenseful at all. She's going to tell us on Friday.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Um,
Because she didn't tonight, even though she literally hinted that she was going to fucking do it tonight.
but let's go to the fantastic conclusion of this match. Reginald comes out with a bottle of champagne and a glass and slides the bottle into Sasha to use to pick up the win. Sasha gets caught and gets a Samoan drop hit on her, and that's it. So not only did we have Nia Jax pinned on Friday from a double drop kick, but we just had the SmackDown Women's Champion pinned off of a Samoan drop. Not trying to take anything away from the move, but that is a move that Nia uses mid-match on most people that gets kicked out of.
I have a question. So the reason this match exists is because Belair and Jack or Banks had pinfall victories over the tag champions.
Yep.
Does Jax now get a women's championship match
Nope.
against Banks?
Nope.
Okay.
No. I I don't know what else to say. Also she's technically on Raw. The only reason they're cross brand is
I,
because
I get that. No, I'm not arguing about the
oh,
tag
and
titles.
I'm not
That
trying
was
to argue
that.
that either, and I understand your point 100%. The answer is just no, because that would mean WWE keeps up continuity, and they don't.
Because that means WWE thinks we pay attention. Like,
So, but that's it. And then we get an interesting moment here, which I've got a note on this. So it's The Miz and MVP talking backstage. We can't hear anything. And at
obviously.
this moment, I wrote down a prediction, which turned out not to be true, but I really would have liked it to work out. Obviously, logistically, there would have had to have been a lot more storytelling than I have. I expected MVP to buy the Money in the Bank off of The Miz.
And give it to
Lashley.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that
Because
would have been
what we
good.
lead into, I'm sitting there going, holy shit, I was right, and then I wasn't right. But anyways, we move on to the Elimination Chamber match for the WWE Championship. As I said beforehand, I will list off the participants in the way they entered into the chamber, not into the match. Drew McIntyre out first, AJ Styles, Kofi Kingston, Sheamus, Jeff Hardy, and Randy Orton. So Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton start the match.
Did you notice what pod Sheamus got in? It was the same one as Jay's. Meaning that WWE was lazy about now. So I paid attention to this when I noticed that Sheamus went into the same pod as Jay. I was pissed off because I thought WWE just went and used the exact same piece of code to trigger off the lights.
Thankfully, they didn't, though,
Thankfully, they didn't,
Drew,
but I made sure to make a point.
Yeah. Okay, that's because when you said that, I immediately was like, okay, Corbin was out first in that match. What pod was Corbin in? But I'm like, okay, he was not in the same pod.
No, that wasn't the same after that. But
so,
I made a point because when I saw that, I was like, if WWE was that fucking lazy.
Yeah. And there's a point in here which will reference back to the first chamber match because something happens. But I did like, though, how Sheamus wouldn't even look at the match that was happening.
Yeah, he was just staying focused, just keeping himself psyched. There was a moment where he probably heard the commentators say Drew was doing something right at Sheamus, and he kind of glanced over his shoulder, and that was about it.
But I really liked that. It really helped with it. But we had Hardy and Orton start, which, I mean, we've seen Hardy and Orton. I'm not bitching, but in the past 2 years, we've seen it 12.5 times. So
inside of every single structure WWE has imaginable
pretty
now.
well.
I think the only thing they
So
haven't done it inside of is a cell, or sorry, not a cell,
a
a
cage,
steel
steel cage,
cage,
yeah.
steel cage.
But so they're going really well. Drew's out next. So we were actually partially wrong in our predictions here. Well, the outcome obviously was correct for the most part, but
We just didn't assume Drew would actually be in a pod.
yeah. But Drew comes out, and I don't have any interesting notes before the next one out. Do you?
Um, no, not before.
Okay, so Kofi Kingston's out next, and Kofi Kingston ends up rolling up Orton for the pin, which I was like, oh shit.
Yeah,
But we never got
when
any Fiend and Bliss stuff from it, which pissed me off.
yeah, there was no like lights flickering to make Orton freak out or anything. Like
No
so,
distraction, nothing.
but they keep hinting that like they did mention, I'm pretty sure, like the Fiend is still like Orton's still dealing with the Fiend and yada yada
Did
yada.
they?
And
Okay, I must have missed it because I didn't even
well,
hear a reference, which really got me.
because they said something about Orton one day waking up and just deciding he wanted to go for the WWE championship again. And that was just after they had mentioned his stuff with Bliss and the Fiend.
Okay, okay.
So it was in passing. It wasn't more than a minute that they talked about it, but
Yeah, so this is where my note is. As Orton's leaving, AJ Styles is yelling at Omos to get him out. Omos rips the glass off of Styles' pod, and Styles runs in and joins the match. So Sami Zayn's crew in the beginning match couldn't stay out there.
because WWE officials don't want Sami Zayn's camera crew to catch all the little nuances, probably.
But yet we fucking let Omos stay out there.
And look what had happened.
And not to mention, the second Styles got in that pod, I knew something like this was happening because that glass popped off during the first match. I was like,
And
okay, so that pod's rigged.
it popped out way easier than Omos pulled it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like it was Zayn, it was when Cesaro was beating on Zayn or I think maybe it was
No,
Jay
he
got thrown
tossed
into that.
Jay into it. So when he was beating up Sammy, the top of it popped out and was hanging, and then when I think he Irish whipped Jay into that pod. Thankfully, Jay hit the beam because
Yeah,
the
so he didn't
glass
just fall out.
popped off.
Yeah. And it hit the ref in the face.
Yeah, Jessica Carr, I think. Was her name.
But Adam Pearce
Comes
comes out
out
of nowhere and
and
just is like, I'm done with this, Omos, you're out of here. Why didn't you fire him?
yeah, I just and nobody gave a shit that AJ was now in the match because of it. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
3 pods opened in this chamber, not 4. We
Yeah.
only got 3 countdowns. If it is WWE, there should just be a code that starts as soon as the bell rings. The lights do the flicker during these time intervals, so that way it's set in stone when the times come out.
Yeah, and so it should have given Sheamus more time.
So there should have been a time when the lights flickered, AJ's pod opens, and nothing happens.
But this isn't the first time they've done something like this, though. I think last year or the year before, they had somebody
Probably.
get speared into a pod that somebody was still in, and that person just walked out of the pod and joined the match. But I'm like, that's not how this works. But okay.
No, it's not. And I mean, even if that person is allowed in the match now, that's fine. There should still be a 4th pod open, no matter what,
Yep.
even if the person does not come out of it.
Yeah, because that countdown matters. That timing matters. Because now that means that, like, Sheamus, we know, is the last one entering. So, but another point that I'd like to make here really quick before we start getting into the finale of this match and shit, they had a gauntlet match on Raw to determine who would be the last one to enter. But yet, AJ, even though he didn't win it, AJ went out of his way to enter the chamber early. That's the other thing I don't get. Why the fuck would you want to enter the match early?
Well, because at the time, when Orton gets eliminated, he RKO's everybody, which, fine, yeah, I guess you want to try to take out people.
But
Fucking Drew's still in the match.
But Styles didn't even go for, like, it would have made sense if Styles hopped out, ran in, and went for the pin. But he didn't. Because, well, no, they did the whole Omos getting kicked out thing first.
Well, but when he gets kicked out, he goes in and gets the near fall on Jeff and Kofi. He pins both men, but they kick out.
After, like, 45 seconds.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
He stands there and watches.
Didn't go and pin them at all.
He stands there, watches Randy leave, watches Omos get kicked out. The camera follows Omos all the way up the stage, and then we come back and AJ's like, I guess I'll pin them now. I'm like, that was a fucking waste of time.
Yeah, no, that's very fair.
There was no point. I don't care that he went for the fall afterwards. They had a minute to recover.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I thought you meaning that there was no pinfall at all.
He should have been in and right on him. But he did.
No, exactly.
Which was stupid.
I get him not wanting to meet up with Orton, like, because when he came to the steps, Orton was coming out, so I can get just kind of being like, go ahead, and then just coming in, but he didn't.
Yeah, but then he turned and watched Omos get kicked out, and I was like, dude, it doesn't fucking matter. You're in the match. Just go.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and then, where am I here? Sheamus finally gets in. And if you have any notes as we go here, you can. But Kofi is the next eliminated. Sheamus hitting a brogue kick and eliminates Kofi Kingston.
Was this just trying to see?
We got some really awesome spots from Jeff.
He had a great showing in this match.
Yeah. Whisper in the Wind off the top of the pod.
When he was looking like he was going to go for a swanton from the top of the pod on Styles, I realized there's just no way the new pod can be jumped from in that move to the ring. There's no way he can do a swanton from the new pod to the ring.
Sure he could. Why couldn't he?
It's a good foot between the post and the pod.
He's jumped well further than that for swantons and other scenarios.
I think he's too concerned about his head clipping the top turnbuckle. And I think that's why he didn't end up doing the swanton off of it.
Where Styles was positioned, it went to, like, you go back to the other chamber, even though the pod was closer. When he hit the swanton off of it, the superstar was well further away. So
I don't know. I don't think he would have had the ability to do the swanton. From where it just looked like it's too far to be able to do that move now.
I don't agree with
That's
that.
Fair.
It's really not that far, especially for a move like that. I mean, all you do is you jump forward.
I think that there's, like, instead of the foot to dodge the turnbuckle, he now has to dodge the entire post plus the turnbuckle. So that's like 3 feet that he has to clear. So now I just think that the swanton is more of a move that you just kind of fall into. And so this one he would have had to jump into, and it just kind of would have looked weird.
But anyways,
I'm sure he would have found a way to do it. I just think that's why we didn't see it.
Well, yeah, he jumps. That's the way you do the swanton.
Yeah, but he does more fall into it, like, just kind of than anything. Like,
really, he jumps and then falls? Whoa, gravity.
No, I'm meaning, like, when his jump, he kind of just leans into it, lifts his feet up at the end to give him that rotation. Like,
yeah, but what I'm saying is there's no reason you can't stand on the front of the pod and get a bit more outward momentum.
For sure. I'm saying that I think that's why we didn't see the swanton off, is he just didn't feel like it was safe enough.
I just didn't think we needed it. The reason we didn't see it is because it's set up for the finishing spot.
That's fair.
Which, because the thing is, it would have made no sense for him to, like, with the spot that we had, hit the Whisper in the Wind, go in, and then climb up on the pod again to do it. It would have made the spot not feel important.
That's fair.
So
Just from what I thought about at that moment, that's why I thought it was the way it was, but
yeah.
it's not like it really could be like that. It's just what I thought.
But yeah, so Hardy swantons on uh AJ, and as he gets up, McIntyre, I started typing this the second Hardy ran to the other side. I'm like, okay, so here comes Drew. It was either Drew or Sheamus, but I figured it was gonna be Drew because Sheamus had already gotten his elimination.
Yeah.
So I was already typing this. Drew McIntyre claymores Hardy, gets the pin. And then the next elimination kind of came out of nowhere, in my opinion. I was surprised by this.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any notes in between Hardy's elimination and this one.
Uh, yes. AJ goes for a 450 but hits a 180.
Yeah, he hits a senton.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like but then he just does it again. Like I imagine when he went for the near fall on Drew, he just kind of said, "Can I hit that again? I kind of fucked up."
yeah.
Like
Well, you can notice as he gets up, he's not steady, and when he jumps, he goes to grab his leg to get the 450 rotation, and then he just kind of let it go. Like, I'm not getting this.
no, so he's like,
Um,
"Screw this, I'll break my neck. I'll just do a backdrop or whatever."
and
Like he just did.
the best part is if you watch Drew's face when he gets hit with it, you can tell Drew was not ready for the impact, because taking a senton versus taking a 450 are two totally, that was fucking insane.
Two totally.
Two totally different impacts. Because a 450 you're not taking a ton, where a
Yeah, because
senton you're
the other
taking
guy
all the weight.
he springs his knees and hands onto
Yeah, he
the mat.
basically almost kind of bridges over you, so there's still some impact, even especially guys who come down, but there's still, even the physics standpoint of it, even if you were to legitimately land on him in a 450, it's different from a senton where all the
Yeah, because
weight
it's
is just
stomach
coming.
to stomach almost.
Yeah,
Yeah, because being stomach to stomach, you both exhale at that same impact, and it softens the blow.
yeah,
Whereas
a
your
senton,
back to
yeah.
stomach, it's
But if you watch
like
Drew's face, AJ hits it, and Drew's like obviously selling, but there's just a way of his face that I was like, he was not ready for that.
he got the wind knocked out of him for sure.
Yeah.
But I do like that they had Styles go back and hit the 450 so that there wasn't a Jericho moment where everybody on the internet's like, "Oh, Styles can't do the 450 anymore." Fucking pulls it out week to week. He messed it up once.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
But AJ Styles ends up hitting the phenomenal forearm on Sheamus and pins Sheamus. So at this moment, I'm sitting here like, okay. But then AJ runs right back out to the outside, and I typed the finish before it happened.
oh, I knew exactly where it was gonna go.
I literally have in my note here, I'm like, this is written as Sheamus gets pinned, and it was Drew reverses the phenomenal forearm into a Claymore for the win, which AJ lines up, springboards, and the Claymore gets hit. Drew pins him, 1, 2, 3. Now, this is where I got really excited, because I was like, was my prediction right? Lashley comes out and just brutalizes Drew.
Yeah.
So,
like the announce desk, which is a heavy desk, even though it still looks out of place in today's WWE.
yeah.
When he gets thrown into it, it moved.
Yeah.
Like it not like just kind of popped up and then popped back down. It shifted.
Yeah.
And I'm
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
sure the mats they set the thing, like there's not big divots, but there's little divots where the announce desk sits.
Yeah,
So that
like
way
it
it kind of
popped.
sits in. Yeah, because I think it's almost locks in place, so that way it doesn't slide around on the. Because like the mats, they're slippery almost, like for something that's wood or
Oh,
plastic,
yeah.
they'll slide along on these mats. So I imagine there's this slight little indent
Yeah.
that he actually had to force it out of, which.
Yeah, but I'm sitting there waiting for MVP to come out with the briefcase at this point. I'm like, fucking do it. Like, this could be one of
Yeah.
the best fucking decisions. And, I mean, That's not exactly what happened, and I'm not going to sit here and bitch. I'm interested to see where this is going. But Miz
Oh,
comes
I'm
out.
happy with this. I love me a good cash in.
Miz comes out, finally cashes in, even though he shouldn't have the money in the bank because he already cashed it in.
Yeah,
I'm
but
sorry.
John Morrison cashed it in.
I'm sorry. If there's a cash in, let's go back here. I'm gonna wait for Cena. I'm gonna wait for Sandow. I'm gonna wait for Corbin, and I want them each to bitch and get their briefcases back because that's all it takes. Just saying.
Well, I mean, but in fairness to Miz, on a technicality, Morrison did hand the contract in, whereas those guys you mentioned did hand their contract in.
eh, I don't
Like
fucking care.
that is like on WWE's technicality, that is the only thing they are right on. Is if you want to be technical, Morrison is the one who cashed it in, but I still don't agree with it.
Oh, that's just it. I'm like, if you really want to pull the technicality, sure. But the thing is, at the end of the day, the match in the history books will read
Yeah.
it was a
Yes.
cash in. So I don't
Yeah.
know. It's one of those moments where it was like we didn't need it. We didn't need it one bit. Should have just let him hold on to it. And this moment, even though it's there, it's in the history books now. There is a bit, if you go back the few months and see that, this feels in a way like a tainted win.
A little bit.
Because he
And I mean,
shouldn't have it in, you know, technical sense.
and on a technicality, it also taints Seth Rollins' win, where he was the first person to cash in mid-match, and Miz did it and got his contract back.
Yeah.
Like, so it kind of taints
Like
Rollins'
it
championship win
messes
as
up
well.
a lot. It messes up the money in the bank almost as a whole
A little
in that
bit.
way. Like, but I mean,
They're
we're
good.
here.
Like, I mean, the Money in the Bank is broken as it is. Like,
Oh, yes, it is.
it's not like they've ever, like, it's a fucking awesome thing. I love Money in the Bank.
Oh, I love Money in the Bank. I think it's great. Yeah.
But it's broken. Like, they don't do it right. The fucking last pay-per-view we had for it was atrocious.
Oh, come on. Come on, it wasn't that bad, was it?
Kayfabe, Rey Mysterio should be dead.
He landed on a secondary ledge. He's okay.
He was thrown off of the roof.
You are just mad about that pay-per-view because Otis won it and Otis didn't get to cash in. That is the only reason you are upset. Don't lie.
And because Asuka just got the belt right after. I was a little annoyed by that.
That made somewhat sense. It was annoying, but it made sense because I mean she outlasted everybody that was in contention. So why wouldn't she get it if Becky couldn't compete?
That 100% it made sense, but it was a bit annoying
because
I like the Money in the Bank.
Yeah, at that point, do you put two people who obviously Asuka's the one deserving at this point? Do you put two other people that were in that match for the title and then leave Asuka with the Money in the Bank? Yes, I was upset we didn't get to see Asuka running around with the briefcase for a while and whatnot.
Because imagine what she could have done. She could have done taunting, like, psycho Asuka, just being like, ha!
Yeah.
Like...
So, but, yeah, anyways, back to this. Miz Cash is in. Hits the meltdown DDT. Drew kicks out, and then skull crushing finale for the win. Miz is the WWE champion now, and we close the show.
Yeah.
So with that,
I'm not mad like at all. Like, if people want to say, "Oh, you guys are going to be mad about anything WWE does," no, that was actually a pretty good finish. I'm interested to see what's going to happen tonight on Raw.
That's the thing. I'm sitting here bitching about it. By all means, I'm perfectly okay with The Miz winning the title. My issue stems back. We're here now. We're not changing this.
Yeah.
So I'm happy The Miz got the title. Miz is a fantastic heel. Miz deserves another world title run.
Absolutely.
I can have my issues.
Yeah. But my thing is, like we've said, we want SmackDown to be good, but then they give us pay-per-view matches like this, and we're like, we had a barn burner of an elimination chamber to have the person be murdered by Roman Reigns.
Yeah. So I don't know. And the thing is, once again, anybody wants to bitch that we only do this about WWE. I've done it about AEW. I will continue to do it about AEW. I have many issues. If you want one specific, that doesn't involve the recent women's tournament and that, Moxley. Love John Moxley, liked his reign as world champion, but the fact that they had him beat everybody and anybody in between, and I couldn't believe a single person would beat him for the belt, I have an issue with his title reign, even though I loved it. So don't ever tell me I'm biased, because I can sit and bitch about Moxley's title reign for those reasons.
There are booking decisions on every account that aren't great. I will say I have more faith in AEW.
Because they've provided a bit more. They still are new. They've got a lot of room. But the thing is, by no means is any one promotion perfect.
No, I mean, I would say probably the closest to being perfect has been AEW.
Of what we've watched. Yeah. We've also got to put that out there. There are a lot of promotions, and we do not watch everyone. Because we say something like this. Promotions. We say something like this, and New Japan fans and that come out and because the thing is, I'm a fan of New Japan. I just don't have the time to watch New Japan stuff.
Yeah, and that's just
I barely have the time to watch the stuff we talk about on the podcast, let alone throwing in another promotion or two like ROH.
Exactly. Like we do, like I'm saying, obviously, of the main ones that we cover, I would say consistently AEW has been,
yes, agreed,
the best one.
Yeah. But moving on here, we get
call it bias all you want. I don't give a fuck.
We get to do our fun little segment here, our Malteser match rating, which we do specifically for the pay-per-view events and that. So, and myself, I've written up my actual scaling components myself. So this will be from my side for this, and I can share this with you after. I did it last night because I was having a really hard time trying to justify certain things. So I pulled it from, because this is a play on Dave Meltzer's Meltzer star rating system, for anybody who's not aware. I pulled from back in the day what was his original scaling. So a 0 is a match with no redeeming value. So it does absolutely nothing across the board. A negative rating means not only was the match worthless, but obnoxiously bad. 0.5
I'm going to go ahead and change a match.
0.5 is a terrible match, but at least there was a high spot or something. 1 is a bad match. 1.5 is below average, but tolerable. 2 is average. 2.5 is kind of good. 3 is quite good. 3.5 is almost great. 4 is excellent. 4.5 is better than you can ask, and 5 or more is something absolutely stupendous, which, I mean, I haven't even given a 5 myself yet.
I gave a 5 to I don't know if I've given it to matches, but I've given it to an overall show.
You gave a 5 to one match, I want to say.
I remember. I wasn't sure which match it was,
but that is what I, as of last night, have started, and I'm going to use that, basing my shows off of it too, just obviously replacing the idea of the match being that way to the show as a whole.
Yeah.
Because I found that my numbers have been a little wonky a few times, that I've noticed looking back at my ratings, and I'm like, I might need to clean that up. So I actually looked for Meltzer's original rating system, and that's what there was. So, so starting off, pre-show match, Fatal 4-Way.
I mean, it was a really good match. I'll give it a 2. I forgot to mark down the Malteser for this match, honestly, so I'm just shooting from the hip off of
No worries. I as well gave it a 2. I mean, which according to that scale, it's an average match, which it was. There was nothing crazy about it. It was what it needed to be. and with it being on the pre-show, and the winner being in a match later on, there was so many variables that it couldn't be a great match. Which isn't to
Yeah,
say
well,
anything about the
yeah,
competitors. The 4 competitors could have provided a great match, but the variables in the match didn't allow it to be. So,
absolutely.
um, SmackDown Chamber match, the Chamber match.
I gotta scroll through the notes for it. Um, give it a 3.5. It was good. It
I
was a
did
really
as
good
well.
match.
I did as well. Um,
I can't say I did as nicely for the other one.
um,
Or I guess the match that follows it, I mean.
so the match that follows it being Bryan and Reigns, what did you give it?
0.25 for the 0.25% of Brian's offense.
That is fair. I gave it a 0.5.
I had it as a 0.5, and I was like, no, Brian didn't even get 0.5% of offense.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, it wasn't great because it was just there. It was what we expected to be. It wasn't a match. Bryan got a quick reversal and then Reigns just pummeled him and then choked him and it was done. Uh
Brian locked in the yes lock, and I went, don't do that. Don't give me hope. I literally said that.
Oh, I believe you.
Like,
I believe you. US title triple threat.
I gave it a 3. It was really, really good. I honestly really liked it.
I gave it a 2.75. I liked it. It was enjoyable. The
I
second they
really
added
want to see what
Morrison,
Riddle will do.
yeah, the second they added Morrison in, I was like, okay, I know where this is going. But it was still good. The team ups in the match and that, it's just once again, it wasn't like, it wasn't an amazing match. It was good. It was good.
It
Um,
existed as probably one of the better matches on the card.
yeah. So I'm looking forward to this one. The women's tag titles.
I gave it a 1.
Give it a 1. I give it a 1.5. Uh, just to try to kind of be nice to it. The
Just can't.
the match, the actual performance in the match, nobody did necessarily a bad job. The
But why was
finish
it there?
sucked. The match didn't need to be there. We could have as easily just had Lana and Naomi versus them, and it probably would have gotten a bit of a better rating because it made sense. They qualified. They
Why didn't
earned
we
it.
just get Dakota versus or Dakota and Raquel? Because
Because that's going
that
to
would
be
be
on NXT.
that's fine. I get wanting to put that on NXT, but if we wanted to put a worthwhile match in here that
Oh,
isn't
I
Lana and Naomi,
I I, I agree completely. It's just I mean, let's go. Like Wednesday they had announced it. So if they really wanted the match on the card, there was no reason on Friday we had to get this. We could have gotten the announcement Saturday that Lana and Naomi were getting their shot. There's no reason that we had to throw them in with no build up, no nothing. Sure, Lana and Naomi for the titles hasn't had this crazy amount of build up, but it's had more. It's had more than Sasha and Bianca going for them for no reason. But that's just me.
where was the IC champion? Where was the tag champions?
Big E's injured
Fine.
from SmackDown.
Yeah.
There I have
What
no
Rudolph?
excuse. I have no excuse for the men's tag titles on either brand. I
Like
do
Hurt
not.
Business could have came out with Lashley.
Yeah, I have no excuse. I mean, we just had Otis and Gable turn heel. Why didn't we just put them against Rude and Ziggler just for the hell of it? Even if Rude and Ziggler retained, they pinned
Yeah.
Gable. They take out Otis, they pin Gable. It would have been something to help further, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Why didn't
Why
we
did
get
we not?
something?
Like I was about to probably say Oscar.
Asuka?
Yeah.
Yep. So I don't know. But
Oh, though, actually, before we fucking move on, we were supposed to get this fucking match for Oscar. Where the fuck is it?
I'm gonna give a 4.5 to the no match from Asuka. Uh, it was fantastic.
Like, You're telling me
Oh
they
no.
couldn't go to the back? Sorry, I'm not going to last long on this.
No, no, no.
You're
Go
telling me
ahead.
they couldn't go to the backyard
The
room.
backyard.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, go to Backyard Pro. Fucking do it. I don't care.
Psycho Mike versus Asuka.
Sure, but you couldn't go to the backstage, point at a woman and be like, "You're fighting Asuka tonight, but you're losing." Like,
Uh,
you tell me Rick couldn't fucking find somebody to replace Lacey for him?
I
You
mean,
tell me like there's no fucking buddy that could have challenged Asuka last night.
as much as I don't like it, like we literally could have even had Charlotte and Asuka. As much as I don't want it, we could have had Charlotte and Asuka. Why?
Exactly.
They have zero excuse. Like there was no reason.
It is fucking
They
inexcusable.
could have had Reginald challenge Asuka. Like just put a match.
They could have had Swoggle return and fucking fight her for all I care, just so that way we got a match that they said we were gonna fucking get.
Yeah. Yeah, and they were even saying on the pre-show. They were saying on the pre-show that she will defend her title against a mystery opponent tonight, and I was like, okay.
And I'm sorry to get so mad about this, but if you're gonna disrespect your championships, I'm gonna disrespect you.
Yep, I agree. But moving on with our Malteser system here, the WWE. Oh, I don't blame you. The WWE title chamber match. What'd you give?
A 4.25. It was a really, really solid match.
Hold on, you gave this better than the other one?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit. I gave it a 3. I liked the first chamber better.
Fair, but I actually enjoyed. I think it's probably Jeff's. I thought he was just gonna get steamrolled, but so probably Jeff actually having a decent showing. I was like, man, that was actually a good chamber.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I found the SmackDown one had so much more value to it in the story. Because I mean, we got Owens and Zayn. We got the fallout from SmackDown of Owens, Bryan, and Cesaro. Jey Uso getting a good showing.
Yeah. No, for story-wise,
the brutality out of it. I liked it more than this one. I mean, not to take away, like I gave this one a 3. I still gave it a decent
this
rating.
Is a really good match.
But it was kind of, I would have preferred just having Drew and Sheamus.
That is very fair. No, I totally get it. But where I was, like I said, I had expected it to be the Drew and Sheamus show in this Elimination Chamber match. Yeah. And so when Jeff and Kingston and even Styles actually got their, like, I guess their feet under them in the match and they started to do their offense and whatever, I was actually really impressed and happy with what was going on, because at the very least, this chamber didn't just feel like Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus plus some other guys.
That's fair.
Which is very much what it could have been.
And then on to the final match of the night, Miz and Drew.
I'm really intrigued as to where it's going to go. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5.
Okay. I gave it a 1.5 purely, which, I mean, the thing is this is where you kind of get like the issue because of what I gave to Bryan and Reigns earlier, because Bryan did get even a minimalistic amount of offense, and I'm giving this more. But the only reason I'm giving this more is because this made sense.
Story-wise worked. I love
because
when cash-ins actually make sense.
Yeah, it was a Money in the Bank cash-in. The Universal one did not work, in my opinion, one bit.
Exactly. Like, if we were to retroactively do I guess it was Armageddon, where Edge cashes in on Cena for the first time, that
New Year's Revolution.
New Year's Revolution, that cash-in match would probably get a 5 from me.
Because it worked. It worked so well. And it was the first ever cash-in. It just...
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Like, matches don't need to be long to be perfect.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, I agree completely.
Like, yeah. Especially because Vince I'm sorry, we can't go into that match. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we'll save that. We'll do a podcast. We'll do a. You know what? When Money in the Bank rolls around again this year, we will do a special podcast. We'll talk about it right now. We'll do a special podcast, and we will go through and we will rank every Money in the Bank ladder match.
Oh, that sounds fun. That sounds fun. We'll do that in front of our prediction show.
Hell, we'll take a day. We'll do like a 5-hour stream, and we will do a live watch along, watch through the cash-ins or the matches or whatever we end up doing, and discuss it. There we go.
Yeah.
There
that
we
sounds like a
go.
really good thing.
Awesome.
Because WWE loves to talk about their cash-ins, but they don't really show them that much.
No, they don't. So we'll go through and do all that stuff, but sticking with last night's show, overall rating for the show, what'd you give?
A 3.5. A lot of it carried story where it needed to go for me, but there was just a couple things that kind of dragged.
That's fair. I myself, I gave it a, if I can get back to my notes here, I gave it a 3.
Yeah.
I gave it a 3 on my dot.
Yeah. There was probably a couple points like the triple threat match and Jeff's appearances, like our ability in the chamber match, where I'm just bumping it up a bit farther.
That's fair.
Because, like, for me, if I can be pleasantly surprised by one person, all of a sudden the match just gets better for me. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So, just trying to find where I am here. Match of the night from the show.
The WWE Championship Elimination Chamber.
So, and I gave it to the Universal Championship Elimination Chamber.
Yeah. Like, I honestly thought that it, and I mean, that's really interesting that this is the first time we've actually got our best matches that I totally agree with you. And this is the first time where the matches are actually so quality where I'm like, no, they can both be the best match.
Yeah, because I don't disagree with the WWE one. Like I said, I by no means am saying the match was bad. It was good.
Yeah.
It could go either way. It's just I had more investment into the Universal where you had more into the WWE. So it totally works.
Exactly. Like it's perfect. And we've had our best matches where you've looked at me and I'm like, what the hell? And I've looked at you and gone, what the hell? Like,
there's been a few of those. Yep. But yeah, segment of the night for Chamber. I would assume we both have the same one.
Oh, you might be surprised.
Okay.
I gave it to Bad Bunny foreshadowing without anybody fucking noticing.
Holy shit. Okay.
Well, because I had watched it after the fact, I'd kind of already known some things were going to happen, right? So I was keeping out an eye for any foreshadowing. When Bad Bunny came up and went, oh, you're not a champion, I literally had just finished scrolling and saw Miz holding the WWE Championship.
So, mine, I partially give it to Mrs. Cash-In, but mine as well goes, and it's crazy because it was about 15-20 seconds with no audio to Miz and MVP talking.
That's fair, yeah, because there's going to be some story on that.
That segment, the cash-in made no sense. At least Lashley getting involved in the cash-in made no sense. That 15-20 second segment with no audio built that whole cash-in.
Well, because Miz or MVP could have been telling Miz, like, hey, Lashley's going to go jump Drew or whoever wins after, just so you know.
Lashley tweeted afterwards, business. It's all he tweeted, which I can only assume means Lashley gets... This is what I'm actually been reading since last night. The prediction is Lashley gets the first match against Miz. And the predictions are it can go either way, and we get Miz Lashley McIntyre at Mania.
That's fair.
Which I personally, Lashley deserves to be in the main event at Mania with the Hurt Business. I will fight anybody on it. Because the Hurt Business is one of the greatest things going right now, in my opinion, for Raw. And I would have no issue with him being in the world title match. It's just a matter of how they're going to do it.
Yeah, that's just it. Like, what I imagine has happened is MVP was talking to him, and maybe it was, hey, let me buy this briefcase off of you.
Oh, that would have been so cool. And like you
But
get the first
yeah,
title shot.
Lashley will let you challenge him for the first shot then. And MVP goes, well, or Miz just might have gone, well, why don't Lashley just destroy whoever wins, and then I'll give Lashley the first shot.
Yeah, saves you money.
Yeah,
I can see that being the exact direction, which I'm totally happy with.
yeah,
See,
exactly.
I don't bitch about everything WWE does.
When they book it right, it makes sense.
Let's just hope it continues to be booked right.
I Lashley versus Miz tonight, and Miz's reign is already over.
But see, the thing is as long as we get Miz, McIntyre, and Lashley at Mania.
But if they do Miz losing the title tonight, that means what is Miz Lashley going at Fastlane?
I don't think Miz loses cleanly. I think the Hurt Business gets involved, or they potentially hurt Miz prior to the match. Miz does not. If we get the match tonight, or if we get it at Fastlane and Miz loses, I do not believe Miz loses the title clean
tonight. If it's tonight.
Whenever we get
okay,
Lashley Miz.
Okay,
if it's tonight or at Fastlane, because I honestly think they're gonna build McIntyre. McIntyre gets it back at Mania. We know that they want McIntyre to have the celebration with fans.
Yes, that he didn't get last year, and that'll make him a 3-time champion.
So why not give us more with what's going on? Have it be whatever, and then we can continue the feud, whether it involves Lashley, whether it involves Miz, whether it involves both. Post Mania.
Yeah,
but don't give me Drew right away. Let Drew stay off TV for a few weeks and have Drew come back right before Mania and go.
Or even just before Fastlane.
Yeah. And set up for Mania. Yeah. But I wouldn't have an issue with Lashley taking it off. I just don't want Miz to lose clean, because then that kind of kills.
That's momentum. What I mean. Like if they go one way, whereas they get the match tonight and it's Hurt Lock new champ. That's it. No. That's all I have to say.
The only other way we could go, in my opinion, with this potentially is McIntyre costs Miz the title. And that way we get a triple threat setup. Because that way it would
costs work. Lashley the match.
Performer of the night. I do not want this infighting of the Hurt Business.
I know, right? I'm glad that they've kind of stopped it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like it's stop, but like a little arguing here and there is fine.
There's going to be arguing within a group. There's always going to be, especially when it's a business.
Yeah, but week to week, literally arguing and costing each other matches?
Bullshit.
No.
Yeah. So, but performer of the night.
The Miz. No, Drew McIntyre. But I'm also going to give an honorable mention to Jeff Hardy, because the guy just had an absolute showing in a match where I thought he was going to get Claymored and pinned.
So I'm like gonna heavily cheat here on mine. And I'm going to give it to the 12 participants between both chambers. This year has been really, really tough in general, and I mean it really sucks because an industry like pro wrestling requires and feeds off of fans, whether it's 2 people, 8 people, 100 people, or 20,000 or more. You feed off of a crowd's energy. Your matches when you call them on the spot, you feed off of what the fans are liking, what the fans aren't liking. You get heat. So something like a chamber match. The fact that both matches went off as good as they did, I've got to give props to those 12 men and the performances that every one of them gave, whether how short, how long, how good, how bad. They pulled off 2 chamber matches that were fantastic,
Hmm.
in my
No,
opinion.
that's just it. Like for me to specify those two guys, those were the ones that really stood out in my mind
Yeah.
in the matches I watched. I'm sure you have your favorites from the match or each match and
Oh
whatever,
yeah.
but
Oh yeah.
but no, to acknowledge every single men that competed inside the elimination chamber is absolutely correct, and I'm glad that we don't have to include Roman inside of that.
Yeah.
Because if
Yeah.
it would be the 11. I'm sorry, because he wouldn't have done anything. He'd have came in last, speared everybody, won.
Yeah. So, speaking of that, which I think it'll be pretty obvious, our worst of the night.
Do you want to guess what mine is? Because I think you will have the same one.
No, well, give me yours and we'll see.
The women's tag match.
So we don't. We don't have the same.
Right.
Cuz here's where I turn myself around on stuff I said was good. And
Okay.
so I kind of back myself into my own corner here.
Okay.
The fact that it was the same thing post chamber both times.
Yes. No, yeah, that was very
That is my
consistent.
worst
Yeah.
of the night. I love that Miz won. I have no issue with
Yeah.
that. But it's the fact that both chambers, the post match was the exact
Yeah.
same when you look at it.
No, that's very fair. That is.
I
My
was
only
like,
issue,
seriously? Like, we couldn't have had any better booking?
but in the looking at how those two bookings go, like they are the same, but they aren't the same.
Yes, I understand that, but it was the fact that we had 2 chamber matches and the post was, on the grand scheme of things, sure,
Yes.
one was Roman doing his thing, one was a Money in the Bank cash in. Like I said, I like that Miz
They
cashes it
had
in.
their
This is
merits and
this
whatever.
is where I get backed into the corner. But as a booking standpoint as a whole, they literally booked the first one and went, let's do the same thing for the next one.
Yeah, well, it's like how Raw's really consistent with if they do a roll-up finish in the first one, it's
We get the
likely going to
same
also
match,
be yeah.
or something like that right after. So,
Yeah, that or if it's like a DQ, oh, okay, well now we're going to get a tag team match.
yeah. Yep. With The
Like
Undertaker. No, sorry. Teddy Long possessed me for a minute there.
all honesty, if they wanted to have Teddy Long come back and be general manager, I'd be fine with that because at the very least it makes sense why we keep having these tag team
Yeah.
bucking matches.
Well, it seems like these guys get in a ring and they're like, fine, we're just going to have a tag match. There's no authority. There's no nothing. It's just like,
Yeah,
it happens.
like at
Yeah.
least with Teddy Long, he'd come in and be like, I'm sick of all of you just fighting. You're going to have a tag match, and that's going to be the fucking end of it.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Like,
So, but moving on here.
we don't need to have fucking authority figures.
Oh, and before we forget here, because we always tend to forget when we do our ratings, at least I do, because I'm an idiot. The voting on Chamber last night was split 50-50 between good show and sitting on the fence.
That's fair.
It was a very, very solid, very solid split. It's that time of year, lots of misinformation between sources, which happens around WrestleMania. However, from sources, WWE title match, Miz is not scheduled to be involved. As of now, Bobby Lashley is. That is from WrestleVotes on Twitter, which is a usually very reliable source. So, Miz loses the title to Lashley and we get Lashley McIntyre at Mania. Is where we're going.
No. Yeah. No.
Yeah, that's what we're getting.
I don't want to.
But anyways, so predictions. Tonight's Raw, cuz we cover tomorrow. Any kind of big predictions you have, anything?
We'll get a lot of build up for what happened with Riddle and Lashley for sure. Because I don't think we can physically have Riddle stay champion without doing something with Lashley.
See,
Um,
I'm the opposite. I think that gets dropped completely. I think Lashley
but
does not care anymore and shoots right for the main event.
so like he's just like he comes out and says, you know what, I've said screw it. That US title isn't even important to me anymore.
No, I want to be world champion. Riddle can have it. I don't care. I want that world title. Miz, get your ass out here.
Now,
We need
does
a
he
heel.
actually say that? Or does
Yep.
he, because that would bury the US title.
But the worst part is I don't doubt it. I don't want them to bury it. There's no reason it has to be buried. But at this point, that's what they're gonna do.
Yeah, that's just it. Like the WWE does this very consistent thing with their mid card titles. They are willing to bury them, even though they're supposed to be these prestigious belts.
Yeah. So
Like, yeah.
yeah, I see Lashley saying screw the US title, and I bet you our main event is Lashley and Miz, and Lashley wins the world championship. He wins
So,
his technically his first because we don't classify any other belt. Which means we don't classify the ECW, so he wins his first world title in WWE.
I know. It just bugs me. It just bugs me that that's a thing we actually have to specify now.
But yeah, Lashley says screw the US title, makes a challenge to Miz. We get Lashley and Lashley walks out tonight
Is
as
Miz
WWE
stupid enough
champion.
to accept that though?
Morrison accepts it for him.
So they're on Miz TV. Lashley starts talking, and Morrison's like, "Yeah, you got it." And Miz looks at him like, "What the fuck?"
Yep. Yep. And that way we get Miz Lashley at Fastlane. And then we get Lashley McIntyre at Mania.
And then Miz Morrison in an undercard match.
Probably. Yep. Split them up and then let them go and do their own things.
Yeah.
And then I see
Yeah.
Miz getting pushed back into that world title picture post Mania. But they're not
Oh,
going
for
to
sure.
build Mania around Miz being champ. Not saying they can't, but they won't.
I think the Miz will get another world title run inside of 2021.
Yes, he will. He will. I agree
This isn't going
100%.
to. He will have 2 world title reigns inside of 2021.
But they want McIntyre to have that fairy tale ending at Mania.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, he doesn't get that against Miz. Sure, he
No,
can beat the Miz, but it's going to be more if he beats Lashley. They let Lashley run dominant for the next month, make him a threat, make him a mega heel,
make him a
good with
Goldberg.
it. Yep. And then let McIntyre. And the best part is this means we get, and actually we get 2 phenomenal world title matches at Mania. We don't.
You're giving a lot of faith to Roman.
No, I'm giving a lot of faith to Edge.
You're giving a lot of faith to Edge to get a real good match out of Roman.
Well, we know Roman can have good matches.
Yeah, you're still giving a lot of faith that he's wanting to do that.
Oh, I bet you they do. I bet you it is the match of both nights.
Oh.
Yep.
See, even as a Cena fan, if it was Cena in this point, I don't think I'd be able to be saying that.
You think Cena appears
Like,
at Mania this year?
No, I don't think so. Well, maybe in a virtual spot, but not physically.
WWE, do they still include the Thunderdome in Mania a little bit? Do they have some panels at Mania?
I'd say the upper decks are going to be Thunderdome, just so that way they can still have some people on the Thunderdome. So that way they aren't completely ridding of that if they have to revert back to it.
I'm going to be intrigued to see what they do with the actual floor seats because we won't have ringside. We will not have ringside fans. There's no way.
Not even like with the barricades like NXT does.
I don't think they'll want to do that for Mania. That's my only reason I'm saying it is because I don't think Vince will want to do that for Mania. I think they'll think it takes away from the look of Mania. If we do it, sure, but I don't think Vince will want to.
What if we did what they did at Crown Jewel? It's couches. So they're socially distanced couches.
Potentially. See, that's my only thing is I don't know how they're going to handle ringside because they have to put a barricade up if they want like or like the glass if they want ringside, but I don't think Vince is going to like the way it looks. Vince didn't want to fill the stadium with the cardboard cutouts to make it feel more full until he saw the Super Bowl do it.
And Vince also didn't want to do the chairs because it made it look like the big cushions, couches that I was talking about at Crown Jewel because it made it look emptier.
Yeah.
Like,
So, I mean, we'll wait and see, but any last predictions for Raw tonight that you got?
um,
If not,
Taya
no worries.
Valkyrie just tweeted, "Hey ho, let's go." So she's debuting on Raw.
She debuts, takes the women's title off Asuka. Done. My predictions are out there. I am officially finished with predictions. You got more?
I am fine with that. I am absolutely okay with that happening.
Oh, jeez. Well, you got any more to add, or we wrapping it
Um,
up?
no, just make sure to give us a follow on Twitter and tweet any news you guys hear, anything along the, I guess you call it dirt sheets, websites, whatever you want to say. And just give us a tweet about it because when we search through our news polls, as you saw today, we didn't have a crazy amount. We just have to kind of talk about what we can talk about. So you guys sending us information on news sources and whatever is a huge help. It makes our news segment a lot more flushed out and have more than just like 5 pieces of news on it.
Yeah. So, and you can give us that follow and whatnot. You can find that through our link tree, along with links to everywhere else we're available, podcast sites, ways to support us, and everything in between there. So, with that being said, we will be back tomorrow morning, to recap Raw and give our predictions for the following 3 shows: Impact, Dynamite, NXT, and all that fun stuff. So we will see everybody live then. If you are listening on podcast sites or the VOD on YouTube, thank you for watching and listening. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
Yeah, we'll see you then.